Bars loaded on platform 2 for Kylo. We are underway.
Welcome to session 7 of the 2024 CPU Western Canadian Championships out of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. My name is Matt Bowen, and I'm joined by my colleague here today with Chantel Such out of Saskatchewan/Alberta. Hello, Chantel.
Hello. Early morning, excited to be here.
On platform 2, we have our sub-junior 83s. On platform 1, M3 unequipped, so a bit of a disparity between our two platforms.
Looks like we're off to a good start on both platforms.
3 white lights and 3 white lights. And we want to start the session off today by thanking our sponsors. This entire stream is brought to you by SBD. SBD International Pete Spence is here running our stream for us, and we thank him for coming all the way from Great Britain/the USA, international man of mystery, and thank you, Pete. Bars loaded on both platforms.
Marnell competed on Thursday as well in the equipped competition, and she's back today.
Generally speaking, the Western Championships is Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and BC, but we might see some Quebecois, some Ontario lifters. There's people from Newfoundland all over the place.
We seem to have a very large Quebec contingent here, I've noticed this week. It's nice to see.
And what may be a little bit special about this one, Chantel?
Well, I mean, we are calling it Western Nationals for a reason. So what happened is with the change in schedule in the CPU last year, it ended up that our regional events tend to be now qualifying events to be on Team Canada. So we've got a lot of people coming out. Westerns is now 2 weeks after Centrals, a little bit before Easterns, but probably a little bit easier to travel to, I would guess. So we have, I do believe, the biggest Western Championships we've seen in Canadian history this week.
Yeah, it's almost double the size of last year. The stakes are much higher than your typical regional, so it's great to see all the representation from all over. On platform 2, platform 1's loaded for Deb Allard. Deb's been doing this for a very long time. Platform 2, we have our sub-juniors, so we may have a bunch of first-time viewers tuning in for essentially the children lifters here, so we'll do our best to try and introduce the rules, the fouls, and give somebody viewing from home a little bit more information on how powerlifting might work if they're new to this. Deb is good, 3 white lights. That means all 3 judges decided that her lift was good and didn't break any rules. On the right, looks like Griffin John's probably similar.
Yeah, it was a good lift from Griffin, yeah.
Now we have 3 different foul cards, Chantel. I hear you're the officiating chairperson of Alberta. Maybe you can explain some of the fouls as they come along.
Absolutely, happy to do. So in the squat, you actually have 2 commands as well. So you'll see the lifters will set up, and they won't just step back and go into their squat immediately. They will get under the bar, they will step back and get set. And once they are in a good starting position, so what that means is they are upright, their knees are locked out, and they are in control of the bar, referees will give them a squat command, and then they must stand back up in one fluid motion and wait to get a rack command.
It's always nice when we have both lifters going at the exact same time. Emmy appears to have done a pretty clean lift, 3 white lights, as well as Zaya. Imani on the other side, platform 2. Boom, boom. Now, when we have a competition rack like this, today we're using Met XT. Chantel, I believe you're one of the early reviewers and avid fans of the Met XT rack. Can you please tell us a little bit more about it?
I really do like the Met XT rack. I purchased one really quickly after they were brought into Canada by Inner Strength Products, who's actually one of our sponsors. And I like it. It's nice, firm bench. The rack is really stable. It goes in and out of the uprights. It sits on some posts that keep it centered. It's quite nice, and the reason I really like it is that those safeties are long and the rack is quite long and wide, so I can squat equipped in it and feel quite confident and pretty safe.
Stability is always important. Now on platform 1, we have Dusty Deer. He's out of Saskatchewan, and he is an M4 lifter, Masters 4, which means he is over the age of 70. 70 years old. On the right, on platform 2, we have 3 white lights from Alex Yang. So that means if Alex is under 18 and Dusty's over 70, that is a significant age gap.
That's a pretty big range in our lifters on those platforms.
That age is older than both of us, that gap, I believe.
I'm going to run with that, yep.
Okay, 3 white lights on both sides. Unless I'm mistaken, we have all good lifts thus far. It looks like it, yeah. Platform 2, Alex Yang. He's in 7th, which means that we have a competitive class of lifters in the 83s. Oftentimes at a local meet, we're only going to have one, maybe 2 lifters, but these guys are competitive for the podium today. Kelly Wharton from BC, 63. She's M3, which means she's between the age of 60 and 69 years old. She's a veteran of the sport.
She's come from Vancouver, so again, a Western Canadian athlete.
Her son, I believe his name is Liam Wharton, quite an accomplished lifter himself. So sometimes we see, as you might be aware of, Chantel, powerlifting can be a family sport. Do you have any insight into that one?
Well, it definitely is in my case. Yeah, my brother got me into the sport. I say my sister-in-law way back in the day maybe inspired me to stay in the sport. Her brother, I mean, we got their 4 meet directors, right? They are related. The 2 Ryans, Rhea and Heidi. Lots of people know them in the country. I'm fortunate to be in that family, and fairly recently, in the last couple of years, one of my daughters has started as well.
Amazing.
Competing.
Is she competing this weekend?
She is not. Nope.
Too busy volunteering.
Too busy volunteering. Yep. Auntie and uncle put her to work.
That was 3 white lights on both Platform 2 and Platform 1. I have to say about this competition, this might be the most professional looking regional championships I've ever seen in Canada. It's absolutely beautiful. It's flowing smoothly, and we've been fortunate enough to have full volunteer spots. Actually, volunteers turned away for the interest in helping out these guys. The loyalty in Saskatchewan for the Stins and Fowlers is overwhelming.
Yeah, it's been really nice to see how many people stepped up and said, yeah, I'm competing, but I'm here. Put me in a spot. People forget sometimes that nobody's making big bucks at this, and everybody out on that platform is a volunteer, and they put in a lot of hours. We're here early in the morning, and we're here late into the night getting this venue cleaned up, and we're all doing it because we love the sport.
Absolutely. You see on Platform 1, Janique LaFond here. She has just 1 rack in. So can you tell us a bit about racks going in and out and what that might mean?
Sometimes people like to have a little bit more clearance. Sometimes they might clip the rack with the plates as they come out, and if you do that, you'll be unstable. So sometimes tipping one in just might help you not clip the rack. It might make you feel a little bit more stable. Sometimes big guys will put the racks in because they can get their hands on the outside of those racks then as well.
Absolutely. And it works for her. So you had 3 white lights. On Platform 2, we have Bryce Goney, Albertan, 83 sub-juniors. 83 meaning, what does that mean to you, Chantel? What is 83? That seems like a strange number.
So that's the weight class. So when you see those numbers, so in that, underneath his name there, we see M, so that's male. SJR means sub-junior, so that's his age category. U stands for unequipped, so we have equipped and unequipped. And then 83 is the weight class he is in.
So we see them wearing things on their knees and around their bellies. What makes this unequipped? What's the difference between equipped and unequipped? Sometimes we get questions about that.
So unequipped refers to wearing non-assistive equipment. So you can use knee sleeves, a belt, wrist straps, and a singlet, a suit that is non-assistive or doesn't provide any extra assistance or support. Whereas equipped, which is a little more, I guess these days it's kind of old school powerlifting, where you're going to have assistive suits, assistive shirts, often knee wraps instead of knee sleeves. You'll still see the wrist wraps and the belt, but it's the difference between something that's assistive in the lift versus something that is only just providing you with that little bit of extra support, like
Absolutely.
a sleeve or a belt.
So our first are gone in, these are our last lifters in both flight A squat round 1. So far we only have 1 missed lift. Percentages are pretty good, usually in the first round of squats. It's interesting, Garvin here, M4, that means he's over the age of 70 and he's the last lifter in this flight. Strong experience out of Alberta.
Based on his shirt, I think he lifts at a Calgary Barbell. It's a pretty well-established club.
A lot of members from Calgary Barbell out here this week. On Platform 2, Bo here is opening up with 240 kilograms. That is 530 pounds. He's under the age of 19, and that is 45 kilos more than his competitor, Renard Turner. Let's see how Trong does. It's deep. It's clean. He's got SPD on SPD. And it's 3 white lights. On platform 1, Henrietta SB. Also Masters 3. You see their hands going up and down and up and down. How important is it to stay with your grip on the bar, Chantel?
That's going to be more of a personal preference thing. It's going to have a lot to do with your shoulder mobility, where you want the bar to sit on your back. A lot of people just need to play around and see what works for them. When you first get into the gym, you're just going to get under the bar. And then after a little while, you can start to refine it, see where you stay in a good position, see what your shoulders can handle. Lots of us, as we age, our grip kind of moves out a little bit.
Yeah. What are you, 25?
I'm a little bit older than 25.
Ah, yes. You competed, didn't you?
I competed on Thursday.
And how did you do?
I did well.
Well is a good word. You were an equipped lifter, are you not?
I am an equipped lifter, hanging on for dear life. I love equipped lifting.
Ever humble, ever humble. On our right, Kyler Dirksen here in 10th place. What an incredibly stacked class. It's very phenomenal to see all these young lifters coming out. So sub-junior means, what does that mean?
So that is under the age of 19.
And what's the earliest these people can lift?
Well, so 14 to be considered a sub-junior, but we actually do have a youth division now in the Canadian Powerlifting Union. So we actually see kids even younger than that. They just aren't able to lift internationally.
Absolutely. That was an initiative from the CPU, I think. There's some youth divisions in other countries, and we have, as it's been said, there's a lot of families within the sport nowadays. I know in Manitoba we have several youth lifters. I've had the privilege of coaching them. It's a different mentality. They're out there to have fun. It's all the cliches. We're just here to have fun, have a good day, things like that. And it's inspiring to see the lack of egos when these kids are younger. Cannon Kirkwood here. He's lifting 155 kilos. He was successful at 147.5. So he's going up 7.5 kilograms. How do the increases work? Why are all of these numbers either 2.5s or zeros? I'm kind of confused.
So you have to go up in an increment of 2.5 or so 2.5, 5, 7.5. Everything has to be an increment of 2.5 unless it's a record. And at a regionals, it must be a Canadian national record, or you could set an unofficial world record. You can set a provincial record here, but you can't chip it, so to speak. So chipping it means going up as small as 0.5. You can only do that on a national record at a regionals event.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I'm sure we'll be seeing some of those today.
I would be surprised if we don't. We actually have one on the board already.
Wow, that's Bo Trung. We'll see him in about 10 lifts from now. On platform 2, Griffin Johns coming out. He has 162.5 kilos on the bar. Let's see how he does.
Come on.
So you might see in a gym, athletes will go down, they're not going to get their lift, and they bail. At a competition like this, we see that there's a couple spotters on the side. How important is it to stay with the bar?
It's absolutely critical, and in fact, if you don't stay with the bar, lifters will get a warning. Often they aren't going to get more than one warning. It's really critical that they stay with the bar and allow the spotters to help them back into the rack. Dumping the bar can cause major injury to the spotters and loaders because they are ready to grab the bar. And their feet might be under it. I have seen spotters and loaders get hurt when a bar has been dumped and it came down unexpectedly. Now, sometimes people don't dump the bar intentionally. They can be off balance. Accidents happen. But we do ask that the lifter stays with the bar and does what they can to assist the spotters back into the rack.
It's amazing. You have to do very little effort. You just have to stay under the bar to keep them in line so that the spotters can lift the entire thing back up for you. Just a little bit of effort when you've just missed a lift goes a long way to keeping things safe. So we have 3 white lights for Ryan Semke. Camera being leveled out. Ryan's out of BC. Sorry, that was Zia Imani having trouble with some of these names here. We'll get it. It's early. Ryan Semke coming out. Now on the left, Janique Lafond had a blue circle around this red circle. So what might that mean?
So the numbers correspond with the error that the referee saw. So a blue on the squat means that perhaps there was up and down on the bar, or perhaps she wasn't in a fully locked out position. So often you'll hear people say soft knees or not locked out knees, not standing upright enough. So that would be what a blue card would represent in the squat most generally. There's certain infractions that correspond with certain colors of cards or infractions that we would see.
My apologies before. That's Janique Lafon going now. It would have been Kelly Wharton previously. So there's a good example on platform 2. We have a red circle, a red light, a foul 1 on platform 2. What does that mean?
So the red card in the squat means you didn't hit what's considered depth. So in the squat, the referees are watching for the hip crease to go below the top of the knee. Now, it doesn't have to go an inch below. It just has to go below. And if the referees don't think that you've achieved that hip crease dipping below the top of the knee, then they are going to give you a red card for depth.
On platform 2, we can see a knee. Generally, the referees pick where they want to go. Why might they be in the back?
It might just be where they feel like they can get a really good angle. As well, they have to be able to sit in a position that allows them to see the knee and the hip crease and not get blocked by the spotters as much as possible.
So we have Alex Yang. Another clean lift, it appears. See with the lights, 3 white lights. And Dusty Deer taking his time to set up. Now Dusty at M4, that means he's 70 plus years old. I wonder how long he's been doing this. And he's very stable, very solid.
I've seen Dusty around for a few years. I don't know if maybe he lifted younger and then came back to the sport again. We have seen that with a few lifters as well. But Dusty's been in Saskatchewan at least a handful of years. I think he was here, he was lifting before I moved away in 2020. So he's got a few years experience under his belt at least.
That's the thing with powerlifting is, you know, you're a gymnast, you're done around 18 years old, 20 years old probably. With powerlifting, you can be 9 years old and compete all the way up to, I don't know, I'm not sure what the record is, but probably into the 80s and 90s years old. No age limits.
Is Joe Stockinger still competing? I don't think he's been out there, but he would be our M5 if he was. So this is John that just went on our platform 2.
Not to be confused with Jonathan Keiko, the international superstar. It's very close. Sometimes people go by other names on site, but we're going to do our best to get the correct pronunciations of everybody. Their nicknames, their correct pronunciations, so we're going to call him John today. Brenda Billings is coming up next on platform 1. That was a good lift by her predecessor, Nicole. And on platform 2, Jasper Kotowicz. And we're talking about shoulder mobility. It's interesting. Jasper here can get his hands almost touching his shoulders. As you get older, it's sometimes a little bit harder.
Yeah, it's perhaps he has youth in his favor.
Now, it seems that he had 3 reds, all on depth, unfortunately speaking. The thing about youth is he can probably get a little bit deeper on his squat. Regionals is, why it might be a little bit tougher for the judging at a regional competition?
Well, at regionals, you're going to almost always have, at the very least, 3 national or international referees in the chairs. Now, we hope that the judging is fair everywhere and at all of our levels, but as you increase in qualifications as a referee, you just increase in experience.
There's a certain confidence and I would say having the experience to be able to see a depth call. Maybe you're newer, you're questioning yourself as a referee, but the people that are on our chairs today are very, very experienced. Now, it seems like you can't see it on camera, but there's a bunch of people at a table in the back too. They look a little bit older. Who might that be?
That is our jury. Our jury is going to generally be made up of between 3 and 5 internationals, so either Category 2 or Category 1 referees. Sometimes we will have national referees sitting on our jury table as well, but today we have 5 Cat 2 or Cat 1 referees sitting at our jury, and they are there so that lifters can ask if what the concern was with their lift. They may be able to request a review of the lift, and the jury can speak together and decide if there was an error made on the platform by the referees. Referees are making a split-second decision and throwing a light really quickly to keep the meet moving nice and fast. And you know what? Everybody is human and we make mistakes. And the jury has the ability to then discuss, and sometimes they overrule a decision and a lift may go in either direction.
Now on platform 1, Garvin here, he had the squat out. He was standing there for a little while. They had him put it back. What's that about?
I'm going to guess that the referees didn't think he was in the proper position to start his squat. So one of the things the referees will not do is they will not give you a command to start the lift if they're going to automatically give you red lights. So if you already have knees that are not locked out, they would be automatically giving you a 2 card. So they're not going to let you start the lift. They're going to tell you to re-rack and get set up again to give you a chance to get 3 white lights. We have a national record.
It's exciting. It's exciting. Bowie said earlier he's going for that national record. He has a 253 attempt, so he does have the little chips, as we call them, 0.25 kilos on either side. Special for record attempts. Means the previous record is at least 252.5 kilos, and he's trying to beat it. Let's see how he does. Generally, when you get over 225 or so kilos, you get 5 spotters out there because the weight's a little bit heavier and we want to stay safe. And it looks like, unless I'm mistaken, that'll be 3 white lights. Good job, Bo. Congratulations. That's a national record attempt.
And that's his second squat only, so we're going to see him go up.
Nothing can stop him. Now, when we start another round of squats, it's a little bit of a little break for the spotters. We're going all the way back down. There's a progressive order, so in powerlifting, your group is up to 14 lifters, and we go up by weight. It's not, if you're the lowest weight, you're not going to go 3 times in a row. Everybody gets their first, then they get their second, then they get their third squat. So we're entering our 3rd squats for Flight A. And on platform 1, Marnell, so she competed, I believe, yesterday?
Thursday in the equipped division.
There you go. So at a championships like this, how does that work? How can you compete twice?
Well, I think Marnell is mostly a robot because she does this all the time. I know what I feel like after competing on Thursday, and I don't think I'd be ready to be out here on the platform again.
Marnell, of course, is not either a sub-junior. She's a Masters 3, I believe. So
she is.
It's really incredible to see people, older in life being able to lift multiple times at max effort at the same week. Now on platform 1, we have Deb Allard. Deb's in first in the 69 kilogram M3 class. Deb is also an experienced veteran. A lot of the masters have been doing this for quite a long time. I always tell people it's not about being the best, it's about being able to be an M3, M4 lifter so they don't crash and burn early, as some of us might have done. Now on platform 2, they were loading up for Griffin Johns. Now Griffin appears to be taking his time. I believe there's a 60-second time limit for people to generally come out. Is that true?
That is accurate. So to keep the meet moving, keep it running nice and smooth, people have 60 seconds to come and get their squat command. So that's from the time the bar is called loaded until the referee gives them the squat command.
So he did come out, and it looks like he has about 10 seconds left to do his lift. Perhaps he was having an equipment issue, or he was just distracted in the back. If they do not manage to get that lift in a minute, unfortunately they don't get it. He's out there, he missed a second.
That was a fight.
And he got it. He got it 2-1. So it means that in a power lift, you need to have at least 2 of 3 white lights in order to get the lift. So he did get a blue card. The referees might have seen him go, the bar go a little bit down on its way up, down and up, or he may have had soft knees. I suspect it was the former. On platform 1, Emmy Garzito. And it looks like she completed a good lift.
And I believe that was a 2.5 kilo personal best for her.
We were fortunate enough our meet directors were able to send out a survey, so it appears that most of our lifters submitted answers. So we'll have a few stats and a little bit of tidbits and perhaps goals, fun facts about our lifters today. Keep things a little bit spicy for our spicy commentator, Chantel. So Cannon Kirkwood, it didn't appear that he had the strength today, but I appreciate how quickly and how safely our spotters caught that. We have a very good crew out there. Now on platform 1, Kelly Wharton. She's coming up there. She's 2 for 2 thus far, going for 3 for 3. Now I've heard people talk about 9 for 9. What does that mean? And how many attempts do you need to get in order to stay in a competition?
You need to have 1 in each discipline. So you need to have 1 squat, 1 bench, 1 deadlift to total. Kelly has got a record on the bar as well. 110.5 kilos.
And that appears to be a new National record.
Good work out there, Kelly.
On the platform 2, Zaya Mani. Tall lifter. It appears from this angle. He's going down.
Zaya is still in high school.
He's what, sorry?
He is still in high school.
Oh my goodness. 3 white lights. Now we are in, I had to think about this, we're in March. So these athletes, if they're competing, it's supposed to Saturday today, but it does interfere with life. And that's the thing about powerlifting is it's a 365 days a year sport.
Yeah, there's no defined off-season. People might pick one. They might pick spaces in the year in which they're going to take a break from competing. But it's not like, professional sports where you've got a season and then an off-season. We run meets year-round.
Janika on platform 1.
Let's go, Janine, let's go!
She also fighting for a record.
Big struggle, big struggle. Let's see what the judges say. 2 to 1. That's a good lift.
Alex on 2 fighting for it.
Amazing. Good. Sometimes the struggle pays off. The spotters want to jump in there, but patience prevails. On platform 2, Alex Yang did get a good lift. Now I'm looking at my scoreboard on the computer here. What's phenomenal is on platform 1, and these are masters lifters. They are on 100% in all of their attempts right now. We have an entire green scoreboard. Unusual, but good for them. Practice pays off.
Maybe some really well-picked attempts by their coaches as well. Well, you look at both of Janique's last one. I don't think she had 111 kilos in her. So 110.5 was a perfectly chosen number.
Now you talked about the coaches, so it's not always the athletes picking their numbers?
It isn't. Sometimes athletes will pick their numbers. Sometimes athletes know themselves best, and they'll just pick their own numbers. Lots of times you'll have somebody here, we call them handlers or coaches, and they'll be there helping you choose what to go up, how much you might have in the tank. Maybe they'll give you some cues, some support.
Another good catch on platform 2. I thought that was going up, but unfortunately he's paused about halfway up. When people are not getting their lifts at different variations on their path, what does that mean? Like he was above, I would say 50-60% on the way up there. What happened?
It could just be a matter of a little bit of fatigue. Maybe he's just practicing being able to grind through a lift. There could be any number of variables that go into failing a lift. Maybe he doesn't train at, 9:30 in the morning. Maybe he trains at the end of the day. And it's amazing how just the timing, what you're used to in training versus in competition, really can change the way things move and the way it feels out there.
A lot of variables in competition. If you sleep in until noon and you have to lift at 9 a.m., oh, I couldn't imagine.
That's a different world.
Now on platform 1, Nicole Carrière. I wish I could safely and confidently pronounce it in French. She's attempting what appears to be 117.5 kilos. She's in the Masters 3, 84 plus. Now, what does the plus mean?
It just refers to the top end of the weight class. So the weight class for women, we go 84 and then 84 and above. So 84.01 kilos and up. So that weight class can be no limit on that top end of that weight class. That was also a personal best for Nicole by 10 kilos.
Oh my goodness.
Huge personal best.
It's always fun to see, athletes celebrate afterwards. I think we're going to have some big jumps, some big smiles, and some big high fives today. Now, John Kakos on the right. Let's see how he did. 3 white lights.
10 kilo personal best for him.
Now, we're coming up to Bryce Gawney here on platform 2. The spotters are changing it out right now, however. At this point, he has 2 red squares on the score sheet, so it appears he hasn't had a good lift yet. He's repeating his second at 195. Now, how important is this for him?
This is absolutely critical. So he is required to get at least 1 lift in each discipline to be able to continue. So he is going to need this on the board. So everybody at home and everybody in the room here will hopefully get behind him.
On platform 1, we have Brenda Billings hitting the magical 315 pounds mark. She's out of Manitoba, and it appears that
slow and steady.
Got 3 white lights. Congratulations, Brenda. Now we have Bryce going for that third, as we said earlier, and it was fast. It appeared to be low. Whatever technical issues he had, he seemed to have beaten them. So Bryce survives. If he didn't get that lift, it means he probably, well, he would not have been allowed to do a bench press or a deadlift. It's essential to complete a squat in order to continue.
Absolutely. At this level, the Canadian Powerlifting Union sanctions this event. They sanction our regionals and our nationals. And the decision has been made that if you do not get at least one squat and one bench press, you are not able to continue on in the competition. Sometimes at provincials or lower local competitions, people will be allowed to continue for the experience. And of course, at international events, lifters are allowed to continue because there are individual medals for each lift.
Now Garvin here, he's attempting his third. Very slow, controlled descent. He's got a coach shouting at him when to go up. Now what might be the reason for a coach telling him what to do out there?
Well, it might be just a matter of reminding him about, staying tight, or some maybe cues for him that personally he benefits from coaching-wise. That depth call, you'll see a lot of lifters get a depth call so that they don't go so deep and unnecessarily deep because it can tax their strength, but also they don't come up too early, put in all that effort, and have it all be for naught.
Now Bo's going up for 257.5 kilos. He already got the Canadian record at 253. Modest increase for himself. On platform 1, David Hrinkow. Fun fact about David, it might not be on your score sheet. David actually ended up in the ditch on his way out here. He got here to referee yesterday, and now he's competing. He did miss his first session on account of the ditch. He was a multi-event athlete, and he is wearing a branded MPA singlet. Proud Manitoban. And he's going down. And we haven't seen David yet. What does that mean? Why is he making his first appearance halfway through?
We have switched into Flight B.
Flight B. So we have two flights, Flight A and Flight B. All Flight A athletes are going to do all three of their squats, and then all Flight B athletes are going to do all their squats, and then we'll take a 10-minute intermission. Now, Bo, that national record on the line. He gets down, he gets up, he's confident. What do the judges say?
That looked good from here. Oh,
there
we go.
One red light for depth, two whites. That's a new national record. Congratulations, Bo. Brian Tuffield on the left doing his first squat of the day. He's a Masters 3 lifter from BC. He is attempting to take 122.5 kilos. Nice and relaxed. Walk back, finding his footing. What are the referees doing with their hands?
So their hand is up, and it's signaling to the chief referee. When they drop their hand, that means that they believe the lifter is in the appropriate position to start the lift. Now, it becomes really critical in things like the bench press, where there are several little intricate things that we are going to be watching for. Head needs to be down, feet need to be flat, butt needs to be on the bench. And you'll see, we won't see it all from our angle, but it takes a little bit sometimes for lifters to get set, have all those things in place before they are ready to commence the lift. And when those side referees drop their hands, they're saying to the chief referee, I think this lifter is ready to commence this lift.
Safety first, technique first. Mark Magnuson up on platform 1. Mark is out of Saskatchewan. He spent some time in the States. He's in Minnesota sometimes. He's in Manitoba sometimes. He's been a professional radio broadcaster, and he was my partner here, I believe, 2 days ago. Mark's a great commentator. He's also a great lifter. Let's see how he does. Owen Estas on platform 2. Successful opening attempt, 3 white lights. They are also on their second flight on platform 2. Owen's our first one out, and Mark Magnuson getting 3 white lights himself. Another high success rate on platform 1. If I'm not mistaken, all of Flight A, indeed, all of Flight A squats on platform 1 got their squats.
I don't know that I've ever seen that.
Especially with the Masters, this is incredible. The physiotherapists are working their magic back home. Now we have James Naherniak on platform 1. He's attempting 147.5 kilos. Nice confident unrack. Looking at the referee. And it appears that the lift is slight delay with the technology. We'll see what happens. Oh, 2-1. Referee was just deciding what light to select, it appears. On platform 2, 3 white lights. Tennyson Webb up next. That was a good lift for Jacob Rushton. Now, sometimes it's a little bit confusing. You have 2 platforms going at the same time. Why are we doing 2 competitions at the same time?
The volume of lifters just required that this is done with 2 platforms so that we can keep it down to 4 days.
Now
Like we said, biggest Westerns we've ever seen.
It is impressive, and we have a great camera crew here today, great production from the creator of the Sheffield International, Pete Spence, on site, and we also have niche media taking photos and videos for all CPU events nowadays. Now, what does that mean? What is a media package?
So lifters have the option to pre-purchase media packages. It means that the media team, so niche media, will take videos of their lifts. They'll put them together in a montage. Back in the olden days, we used to have to take our own videos and we'd put them to music and upload them to our YouTube channels. And now, powerlifting has gotten so big, we are fortunate that we don't have to set up our own cameras on little tripods. We have a media team here doing it for us.
Amazing, amazing. On platform 2, Tennyson Webb did get 2-to-1 good lift. And on platform 1, we have Lewis Knoppers. Lewis has been around for a couple days, I believe.
Talking about the olden days over there. Don't tell Lewis I said that.
Lewis, a veteran. And it appears, wow, simultaneous lifting here. Platform 1, 3 white lights. Platform 2, 2-to-1, good lift. The left side judge felt he was a little bit high. Now, something I heard a Masters lifter complaining about the other day, not the referees, but that the referees are catching, that he has a crooked squat. His one side goes down about 6 inches lower than the other. So I believe that is a reason that we have 3 judges. There's 2 different views from the side.
Absolutely. Lots of people, it's pretty common to have one side that goes a little bit lower. Now, the risk is that if you have one side that's notably higher and actually is very obviously high, you may actually get a red card from the front as well. And so you do need 2 whites to get through. You don't want to have one side that's just obviously very high, and the chief referee can see it as well. So that is a risk. Hopefully that's not the case for that lifter, and they can have one side that's just a little close and the other one that's really obviously in.
Great insight. On platform 1, we have 3 white lights. That was Court Sandow. Now on platform 2, what is happening?
I think that the referee or the jury were just checking to make sure that the thumb loops were not around the bar or around his thumb. So wrist straps will have a thumb loop, and they can't be around the thumbs. You can't be strapped to the bar in any way. And so I think that it was just a bit of a technical equipment thing. He'll come back and get it. He may discuss it with the jury to ensure that he is compliant for his next lift.
No matter the issues, he did time out. That means the 60-second pass. I do see a jury member going to talk to him, so perhaps we'll have a follow-up thereafter. On platform 1, Dean Smith. Dean Smith unracking what is a 175 kilo attempt. Dean down, Dean up. Not to be biased for Manitoba, but I do appreciate the branded apparel there. That was a nice logo. A friend of mine actually designed that. He won a logo contest.
Well, that's a pretty cool fact that I did not know, being from Saskatchewan, Alberta.
I like the Saskatchewan is first. On platform 2, Riley Bresky, also out of Manitoba. Riley at the provincials a couple weeks ago set the new deadlift national record. Let's see if we can get him to top that today. It's down, it's up.
That's the way an opener should look.
Unfortunately, however, spoke too soon. The officials called it high. So he did not get low enough from all 3 angles in order to complete a successful lift.
And all 3 referees called him on depth, and so that means he cannot approach the jury and ask them to discuss it. You need at least 1 white light for the jury to discuss and overturn.
Platform 1, down and up. Seems confident.
Looked like a nice clean lift. He looked like he was a bit caught. His rack heights might be a little bit high, but maybe he likes it that way.
You never know. it seemed that he did go down a little bit crooked, you know, sort of exemplifying what we were talking about before, that his right side seemed to be quite lower than his left. So all you need is 2. On platform 2, Kalen Riot seemed pretty easy for himself, 3 white lights. We're getting a little bit higher up into the weights now for both platforms. Not often you have a 2-platform meet going simultaneously, but we are within 1 lift of the round on either platform. So we may even get a bathroom break between lifts today, Chantel.
I've got my fingers crossed.
All right. We have Lloyd Welch on platform 1. And Ben DeFater, I think I got that right. Perfect. On platform 2, we have a 215 for Lloyd and 220 for Benjamin. Lloyd under the bar. Lloyd is an M2. So Lloyd is somewhere between the ages of 50 and 59 years old. He has very, very solid technique. That was confident. That was easy. He'll get 3 white lights. Don't like to speak too soon. You never know. However, that looks pretty good to me. Ben as well, 3 white lights. Oftentimes you'll see form is a little bit better on their opening attempts than it might be later on.
Well, the weight does go up, and sometimes it just gets a little bit hard. It kicks you out of position. You hope that their form is good on an opener because it should be weight that is relatively easy for a lifter to manage. If you open too heavy and you fail that opener on strength, you are not allowed to decrease on your second attempt. It is an ascending bar only, and so if you open too heavy and you fail on strength, you might be in trouble to be able to get 1 lift in to be able to continue.
Now with the females, we had 84 plus. Tim over here is 120 plus. Tim is not an overly large man from a body fat perspective. However, he is very tall. You look at those spotters, they are barely able to catch that bar. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully, he's able to go 3 for 3 on those squats. Now
Tim has another lifter who's been around for a very long time, served in the Alberta Powerlifting Union in at least the secretary position. I know that because I took over from him. And he's does a lot of coaching, giving back to the sport, holds an annual meet every year. He's very, very involved in the sport.
You see a lot of our personnel within the CPU wear multiple titles, multiple roles. I can think, Chantel, you probably have at least 4 different things. You're an athlete. Are you a coach?
I don't actually formally coach.
She could be a coach.
My day job is too busy to take on coaching. I harass my daughter to train.
You know what? We'll allow it. You know, you can be a referee, you can be an official, you can be a volunteer, an athlete, multi-sport athlete. It's endless.
And I do feel like I hold a lot of hats these days. But I do love this sport, and so it's nice to give back.
Owen on platform 2 here. Owen is attempting 170. He's our first lifter in round 2 of the squats for Flight B. Now, let's see, big brace. Now, how important is breathing in a squat? We see everybody looking like they're about to pass out. How does that work?
Well, they're going to want to create. So there's a breathing technique where you sort of you hold the air. You push into or brace into that belt, depending on how you want to think of it. Pushing into the belt maybe isn't the best description. But again, remember, I'm not a coach. So, but you're trying to create tension. You're sort of trying to create a cylinder through your abdomen that holds you nice and tight and in position. So often breathing during the middle of the lift is not conducive to a cylinder. Think of it like a can. You let the air out and the can crushes. You don't want that.
That was a beautiful, beautiful example of imagery. Well done, Chantel. Jacob Rushton on platform 2. He's 105 kilos. He's out of Saskatchewan. And it appears he has a good lift. 3 white lights. On platform 1, we have David Hrinkow going for his second attempt. Now, there are a few personnel on the platforms here today that I have seen a lot throughout the weekend. Jeff Butt, for example, our chief spotter in the back. Jeff is the CPU president right now. He's an athlete. He's a volunteer. He's a coach. He holds meets. Jeff is a jack of all trades, a Jeff of all trades, if you will.
That is a very good way to put him. Yeah, the second run now as the CPU president. He was the CPU president maybe about 10 years ago. 15 years ago, and he's back in this role. He's recently served as one of the vice president positions and stepped back into the president position as of the AGM this year.
Good guy, Jeff, and that's a good lift for David Rinkow. Tennyson Webb on platform 2. Very easy for him.
He's come in from Regina, so not a very long drive for him, so that might bode well for his lifts.
And we need to talk about that home field advantage, they call it in other sports. How does that play into powerlifting?
It really can actually contribute quite a bit. You think about flight, sleeping not in your own bed, so maybe you're in a hotel, you're eating food that you're not accustomed to or eating out. Yeah, it makes a big difference to be able to be close to home, driving versus flying. You know, being in your own bed. Maybe he was able to sleep in his own bed last night and drive in this morning. Regina's only about a 45-minute drive.
We talked about David Rinkow, one attempt to go on platform 1, and you know, David ending up in the ditch. How does that affect a performance? You know what I mean? That's an unfortunate variable where somebody that lives down the street, you know, from Moose Jaw is not going to have that factor, hopefully. Now, Kenneth Morris on the right, taking 2 big breaths. He's down, he's up. Same with Brian on the platform 1.
They look good from here.
And they racked at the exact same time. Unfortunately, Kenneth was a little bit too high, it appeared, from the referee's perspective. And Brian was only high from one of the refs' perspectives. So it's not often that you get lifts happening at the exact same time. It's like driving side by side with somebody on the highway. Timing. I actually saw yesterday there was a husband and a wife lifting the exact same time. What are the odds of that? Incredible. Now, James is attempting 155 kilos. Riley's taking 210. Now, we were side by side before. However, James is already squatting and Riley's not. What are some of the variables that might affect the timeline in somebody getting out there?
People are going to want to put on their wrist straps. They might want to, you know, they might not just be clipping their belt. They might be actually putting their belt on, chalking their hands, having their shoulders chucked. Sometimes a coach might be taking a few extra minutes to give Riley those few little bits of advice and tidbit. You know, he did miss his opener, so the coach might have been helping him dial a few things in to make sure he got it on his second.
Unfortunately, still 2-1, no lift for depth. The center judge gave him a white. He appeared to get a little bit lower, but I wasn't confident seeing it either. We'll see how he does on his third.
It can be really hard to tell from the front because, again, they're watching for that little tiny detail, that hip crease below the top of the knee. And often if a lifter gets bent forward a bit, it can just mask what that looks like. And so the referees in their side positions are in the best spot to be able to tell whether that rule has been met or whether it's not met and they're high.
Now Mark, very pretty, down and up, very confident, great haircut, and that is 3 white lights.
A good looking squat.
I'm just jealous of bald man. Kyle Johnson on the right, 93 kilo sub-junior out of Alberta.
He comes from St. Albert, so that's near Edmonton. For anybody who doesn't know, I live in Alberta. I don't necessarily know the area very well, but I do know St. Albert is near Edmonton, so that's a pretty good drive for him.
You're moderately well informed, Chantel. Bryce Coots on the left, on platform 1. He is taking 167.5 kilos. On the right, we're doing 222.5, as our announcer let us know. Now, Bryce Coots, he appears to be wearing flat shoes. I've seen some people have what look like high heels. Now, he does not appear to be wearing those. What's the difference in shoe apparel? I've also seen people wearing slippers like our lifter, Kaylin, on the right.
So the rule is that you have to wear a clean athletic shoe in competition. It's just going to be about their femur length and their proportions and comfort. You do want to have a nice stable base in your shoe. So you're not generally going to wear a running shoe. Running shoes are a little soft and gushy. You don't really want those out there when you're trying to create a nice, hard, firm, stable base. But some lifters want an elevated heel, often called a lifting shoe. See, Olympic lifters wear them a lot. So a lifting shoe or a flat shoe, again, without any sole, without any cushion, allows them to create a nice, flat, stable base.
On platform 2, Kaylin Riot, he was able to come back out with 5 seconds on the clock. He got 2 white lights. There was some kind of issue with his wrist straps. I saw his coach rip them off, and he came out there without them and still got it. It's about that game day adaptiveness. Platform 1, Lewis Knoppers.
Textbook squat from Lewis. I wouldn't expect anything different from somebody who's got the years of experience he's got.
Lewis has been around the block.
He has held at least one deadlift world record in his time.
Wow, wow. And that's the thing about Western Nationals is we're getting all kinds of athletes here, world athletes, local athletes. Some of the provinces have different standards to get here. I see some of our lifters from maybe Alberta, Saskatchewan. This is only their second competition. And it's impressive that they're competing right against world record holders.
It's a nice way to get a lot of experience. You know, the regional events, national events, you have such a range of lifters. You have the world's competitors here, and you've got people who really are just getting experience. They've only recently been introduced to the sport, and they get to compete alongside, meet them, hang out. It's a great way to get some experience and get connected to the sport and find out how amazing it really is.
2 to 1 on platform 1, 1 blue card, 3 white lights on platform 2 for Ben. Tate coming out, he's our top squatter on platform 2. He's got a 30 kilo differential from his competitor. Take that back from the person before him in a different weight class, 262.5. That is a massive squat. We have 5 spotters out there.
Bars loaded on 2 for Tate.
And on platform 1, Dean Smith, he will be taking 185 kilos. Dean's an M2.
He joked that he got into powerlifting because he was watching his nephew compete and saw that they had a category for old guys.
I've heard him tell the story. It's a fascinating one. Just like there are a lot of Fowlers and Stins, there are many a Smith in Manitoba. At least 2 of them are competing this weekend, maybe 4. Now on the right, Tate Kamandur. Hope I'm saying that correctly. He's from BC, not Quebec. Sub-junior. He's under 19 years old, and he is squatting 578 pounds, and he is not a super heavyweight. He is a strong person. 3 white lights.
Great squat.
Fred Smith on platform 1. Fred is taking 192.5.
He has come down from Saskatchewan, or from Saskatoon. We're in Saskatchewan. Oh, it's already halfway through the weekend. I'm tired.
That's okay, you're forgiven.
Bars loaded on 2 for Owen.
Back in alphabetical order on our computer. Fred Smith is 3 white lights, good lift. That was very clean. Tim coming out with 215 on platform 1. On platform 2, Owen Eustache is out there. He has a lift of 182.5, starting off round 3 of squats for platform 2. Owen is a 120 kilo class lifter, taking 182.5. So this is his first attempt over 400 pounds, which is a pretty big milestone in the imperial system for our athletes. A little bit of a struggle. Let's see what the referees say.
It was a good fight. We'll see if the refs give it to him.
3 white lights. There you go. Good job, Owen. Now, Tim Nadeau missed his first. There was a red on one side and a blue on the other. So he had a couple of challenges. Now let's see how he does. Tim is a big boy, as we said earlier. He has to grip all the way to the end of the bar, and that's allowed?
That is allowed as long as he's got his hands, his fingers, and his thumb around the bar. Well, his thumb doesn't have to be on the squat. It does have to be in the bench press. But so I got to have the fingers around the bar. It's got to be stable.
That was a good fight. 2 white lights. He's happy. His coach is happy. He gets to continue on to the meet, the rest of the meet. Now on platform 2, Jacob Rushton. For a third attempt, that was quite fast.
That looked really good. He's also gone 3 for 3 in the squat.
All right, back on platform 1. We're loading up for Lloyd Welch. On platform 2, Riley Bresky. Lloyd has taken 230 kilos. Quite a jump. Well, 50-kilo jump. It's an average jump for a person of his size. What's the difference between people that might go up substantially, 30, 40 kilos versus just 2.5?
Generally, it's going to be how easy that first attempt moves, but it's going to have to do with how they train as well. So you're not going to want to come to a meet and put 30 kilos on your next attempt if you've never done that in the gym. If you're somebody who takes 2.5 kilo jumps in the gym, you might want to just stick with 2.5 kilo jumps in competition. You don't want to change too much. You're also going to see bigger jumps with bigger people. So think about percentage of their body weight, percentage of what they're lifting.
That makes a lot of sense. Good insight. Now on platform 2, Riley's missed his first 2 squats, so he needs this to stay alive, as they say. Appeared to be much deeper.
Looks like he's got the strength for it.
There you go. So Riley was able to adapt. Perhaps he took some tips from people in the back. He listened to the referees. And it's a noticeable difference from his first to his second to his third. He did get lower and lower, and he was able to survive. He'll take that back to training and hopefully improve in the gym.
And you know, it might have just been nerves. Maybe this is his first Westerns. Maybe this is his first big meet. The nerves can definitely get to you, right? And you know, you get in your head a little bit, and then you got to bring it down to that third squat to stay in the meet, and that is not fun. And so to see him be able to turn around and get it is really nice. You never want to see somebody not be able to continue in a competition.
So good job, Riley. His following up is Kenneth Morris. He's in 5th place. And Darcy Morin is our last squatter of round 2 for squats on platform 1. 2-to-1 call on depth, it appears, for our lifter on platform 2. Kenneth, unfortunately, settling with 1 squat, but he'll be back for the bench press. Tennyson Webb to follow him. Now Darcy on platform 1. That was an interesting technique. I've heard that described as a dive bomb. What does that mean?
Well, it's a bit, a dive bomb would refer to sort of dropping into the hole. Now, as long as you stay tight and you can maintain that tension, you're probably going to be all right. You see that a little bit more in equipped. That's a bit more how I squat equipped, where I sit, push back into the suit, and then dip to get that rebound. But maybe he's got, nice tight hips that are like my suit, and it serves him well. Obviously, it's good for him in the squat because he's doing well.
Masters lifters, am I right? They have complicated bodies, complicated issues, complicated lives.
That is a way to describe it.
Not to undervalue the struggles of a teenager. However, you may have a little bit more going on as a 50-something-year-old than you do as a 16-year-old. Everybody has their own life challenges, but it's a different level of stress and maybe a little bit less recovery when you're not experiencing the hormones of a teenager. Now, David, that was a grind. Let's see what the judges say. 3 white lights. Good job, David.
Paid off for David to stay with that one.
He did a big hop. His coach is happy. He's happy. Now on platform 2, Kyle Johnson up from Alberta. He is taking 220 kilos, 485 pounds. It's sort of a convenience sake. We do lift in the metric system with Canada, but I do appreciate that our programmer for our score system was able to display pounds for some of the people who may not be familiar with the kilo system. It gives them a sort of a more layman's view of how heavy these weights might be. Now Kyle was able to get 3 white lights.
It's also important to really put it in perspective with their body weight. And I think that that's so often really important when we think about not just what they're lifting, but the percentage or how much that is compared to their body weight.
Very impressive, very impressive. Ryan Tuffield, 3 white lights.
Bars loaded for Kalen on 2 with 230 kilograms, a little over 5.
Adjustment there. Good lift for, both lifters. We have Kalen Wright out there. He's going for 230 kilos. One of the magical numbers in powerlifting, talking about pounds, is going above 227.5. That breaks the 500-pound barrier. And for these sub-juniors, and they're not heavyweights, they're not the 120 pluses. They're going over 500 pounds. He's in the 105 class. That is a very strong sub-junior lifter. And the judges suggest that he had 3 white lights, did it with ease.
And remembering, again, sub-juniors are under the age of 19. So a lot of these individuals, these sub-juniors are going to be high school students, maybe first-year university students.
We talk about hormones when we talk about teenagers and maybe their emotions, but when we talk about hormones and physical development, perhaps they are able to get a little bit stronger, a little bit faster than our Masters lifters. Masters are fighting the clock in a different way.
That is how I feel every single day, Matt.
You know, essentially, hormones can act as steroids when you're a teenager. Essentially, it's a similar function in the body. So we see our sub-juniors add kilo after kilo after kilo quite quickly.
It's so nice to see, and I love to see our sub-juniors coming up. They can put on some really nice strength and, you know, maybe fall in love with the sport and fall in love with being strong and seeing what their bodies can do and what they're capable of. They really are the future of our sport. And so it's nice to see such a huge sub-junior and junior contingent in the CPU these days.
Absolutely. Benjamin on the platform 2 there had what appeared to be almost no chance. It was just a little heavy for him, but I really appreciate our spotters. They were in there so quickly, so safely, you wouldn't even know that he missed it. Mark on platform 1 was able to get a successful lift. We're hearing Austin, our announcer, sound 600 pounds for 105 kilo athlete Tate Commodore. It is a provincial record. Now, at a meet like this, provincial records can still be broken, but they can't be chipped, I was told.
272.5 kilograms, 601 pounds.
Big lift for him coming up.
Yeah, so this will be a provincial record for him, but we'll see. He has gone in that increment of 2.5, so 272.5 kilo attempt for him. I don't know what the provincial record is at. Somebody may have chipped it. It may be not an increment of 2.5, but he has to go up in that increment of 2.5 to get it today.
Yeah, provincial records can only be broken at smaller integers within the province itself and not at a CPU sanction level. Let's see how he does. He's unracking. Oh, a little wobbly off the hop there.
Let's hope he corrects it, stabilizes.
Tate, in his breath, let's go, Tate. Come on, Tate, let's go!
That was a great fight.
600 pounds.
Hard to see from our angle if it went up and down. It did not. 3 white lights, good job.
Looked like he rocked in his toes a little bit, but again, those referees, it's okay to have a bit of a zigzag pattern to the bar as long as it's not up and down.
For us, we don't get the full 3D perspective. Now on platform 1, Bryce Coates, another easy lift for him. It's always good to see our thirds go by without much struggle. You know, perhaps he left a little bit on the table. Now, why might somebody go a little bit easier? I don't think we've seen what we call a token lift here yet. But why might somebody take a token lift here? I heard somebody talking about Lithuania. I don't know how these things are related, but they may be. Chantel, can you put those two together for me?
So I guess it depends if what you're here for. So, you know, we have to remember this is still a Western Canadian Championship. So people ultimately, what they're coming for is to win. They want to have that gold medal. Next to that, you want to be on the podium. But we are looking at big picture. Some of these lifters are vying for Team Canada spots. Classic Worlds this year is in Lithuania. So some of these lifters might be vying for these spots. Now that's open Classic Worlds, and we don't have open lifters in our session this morning. But we might have sub-juniors trying to vie for spots on Team Canada. Some of our Masters lifters might be vying to be on Team Canada Master World Team.
Come on, Court, let's go.
And those events are held later in the calendar.
It's a good lift for Court.
And that was 2 white lights. He did get a blue card on the right. Still a good lift. We have Kyle Dirksen. Oh, I take that back. Kyle is loaded up for the bench press. We just cut over to the right. So we are taking a 10-minute break for Flight B before they start the bench press. Still have what appears to be 6 or 7 squats left on Flight A. See our volunteers there vacuuming the platform, keeping it clean. People less likely to slip, trip, or otherwise be stepping in powders that might get into their lungs. Very sharp, very well-run crew here today for the volunteers. Lewis Knoppers going for his third, 190 kilos. Lewis is 2 for 3 so far. He's in the 74 kilo class. And it appears he's competing in his own category. So how do you, to get to Worlds, I think do you have to win the category? How does it work?
So generally what we're talking about is being first in the country in your age and weight class, and then either equipped or classic, depending on which discipline you're in. But of course, you have to want to go as well. So, you know, it doesn't hurt if a lifter has got maybe the second or the third place total, and they would like to go, you know, we want to see them apply, and maybe they'll have an opportunity, because this isn't a well-paid sport, and so most of the time lifters are going on their own dime. They're traveling all over the world. They might be able to get a little bit of sponsorship, a little bit of support, do some fundraising, but again, you know, they also have to work. We're not quite like the Europeans, where maybe we just get to lift and it gets to be our job.
Unfortunately, maybe one day. Maybe
Wouldn't it
one
be
day.
nice?
Yeah, powerlifting is an IOC recognized sport. Maybe one day we'll get into the Olympics. That's what we're working towards. That's why you see some of the refereeing is very, very strict. There's a lot of technical perfections that we're striving for. The sport's really cleaned up quite a bit over the years. It's a much different presentation than when I started. Now, Dean Smith here is on his third, 192.5 kilos. Big breath. He's down. He's up. And that is a good lift for Dean. Looked like it hurt, but he got through it. One of the many Smiths here today. Fred is up next with 197.5 kilos. Now, have you ever been to a Worlds, Chantel?
I have been to a few Worlds.
And what's the difference between a meet like this and a Worlds?
Well, I'll be honest, the caliber of lifting is pretty incredible here. And this is a pretty amazingly well-run event. So my first Worlds, this easily, as far as production goes, as far as the speed and the quality of the meet, this is a world caliber event that we're holding. But ultimately, really, what's the difference? We are at Worlds, you are out there on the platform, not just with the best lifters in Canada or the best lifters in Western Canada. You are out there on the platform with the best lifters in the world. You are going to be watching world records fall, and it is some kind of exciting to be able to be on that platform.
Let's see what Fred does out here. He's down. Very deep, very deep. Bit of a struggle. He's confident. He's happy.
That was a great fight.
He's
He seemed to
shaking.
hold it at the top.
Shaking his head, having a small seizure, but he got it. He's very happy about that one. Good job, Fred. Now, our world teams, unless I'm mistaken, are supplied their entire uniforms and their full kits by our presenting sponsors here, SPD.
So for our open and junior and sub-junior teams, SPD Apparel, they do a wonderful job supporting our sport, and they are really invested in the future of our sport. And so yes, we do get some sponsorship from SPD for some of our Canadian teams. They do a fantastic job, and so you can see all our sponsors behind us on the banner there. SPD Apparel is one of them.
Amazing. And all of our spotters and loaders today are wearing synchronized SPD shirts and socks. The uniformity is amazing. You know, you just think about the price tag on these shirts and how many they've supplied to our volunteers, the rewards they're giving back. It's, money out of their company dime in order to, really give back to the sport. It's a beautiful thing to see.
One of the nice things about powerlifting, and I don't know how this applies to other sports because I'm not really an athlete, Matt, but when we think about we think about our sponsors, and the sponsors we have been giving back to this sport. Inner Strength Products has been giving back to this sport since its inception in 2010. Olympia In-Depth Performance down in Weyburn, they've been doing the same. I don't know when their inception was. I don't know exactly what year, but we've seen their logo all over the place since they started. And then, of course, Visit Moose Jaw, that's where we are. Tourism Moose Jaw often supports our events when we're out here.
And it's often overlooked because they're not a powerlifting brand. However, the home city, when they can support an event like this, it's invaluable, I believe. I've had support from our local cities in the past in Manitoba, and just the amount of information, the amount of support, sometimes there's funding, they can help make these championships a little bit better. When you have a bigger budget because your town might be helping support you, you can get a higher quality production value, you can get a better setup. These events, it's not really spoken about too much, but they are expensive to run. Very expensive.
Well, if you think about the quality of this event, the production that we're putting on, the banners alone, the AV company the computers we have, bringing in the referees and all of our volunteers. Even just the, they said the SBD t-shirts alone, our funders, the people who support these events, are absolutely invaluable. And so we sound a little bit like a commercial when we keep promoting them, but that really is the point. These events would not happen without them.
I dare you to go on to Banner Buzz and see how much a 24 by 12 foot banner costs. It is good for these meet directors for putting on such just a beautiful and classy event. And we have Lloyd Welch attempting his third at 240. Lloyd's done 215 and 230 so far at a 105 body weight. That's quite impressive, especially as somewhere between 50 and 59-year-old man.
And bare knees. He's apparently not got those M2 knee joints.
So the rules state you must be at least a singlet and at least slocks and at least shoes and at least a shirt. Lloyd taking full advantage of being fully unequipped. That's the bare minimum he's allowed to wear on stage. And last but not least, our final squatter of this session, Darcy Morin. 260 kilos. Even, he's 2 for 2 thus far as well. The biggest squat on platform 2 was 257, at least in Flight A, from Bo Trong, our national record holder. Let's see if Darcy can have the biggest squat here today. Now, Darcy's our special controlled descent dive bomb combo man, and we'll see how he does today.
He's been here volunteering earlier this week. I saw him in the back room lots, keeping our back room clean, making sure we didn't have riffraff back there clogging up the area.
Something that's come a long way with our meets is just the quality of the warm-up room. These people have 6 warm-up racks per platform to use. I've never seen it before. That's the quality of event we have here today. 6 warm-up racks to use. You need at least 2 or 3, and they're doing 6 aside. Darcy, his trademark technique, 3 white lights, good for him. And we have 36 seconds to start on platform B. Sounds good. We see our volunteers and our referees coming back to the platform. 22 seconds until we start bench press on platform 2. Now, in their hands, the referees are using a tablet system. If you're wanting to follow the score sheet, it's online. It's simple, sympl.plmeet, M-E-E-T, simple.plmeet.com. Simple Meet is an intuitive programming developed by our meet director, Ryan Stinn. I really appreciate how it is able to be controlled digitally. These referees have a tablet. They're pressing the ref command. The judgment's on the screen. It's going directly into the TV system computer behind our referee on the right there, displaying the lights coming right onto our computer screens, all at the exact same time in real time. There's no external requirement for any other equipment, and the meet essentially runs itself through smart tech developed by a very, very smart man, Ryan Stinn. I've seen it in its development, and this current form it's in right now it's incredible. It's very, very impressive. As we get ready for bench press here, we see on the left Jeff Butt and team assembling the bench press accessory. What I like about the Med XT that I haven't seen on a different rack is there's a slot in the bench press itself, and it just slides right on. There's no complicated aim required. It's very stable. It's nice. This is my first exposure to the Met XT racks, but I am impressed. Bar is loaded up there on platform 2 for Kyler Dirksen, sorry. 77.5 kilos. He's got 40 seconds to resume. 170 pounds. Currently sitting in 11th of 11. And we have 11 different 83 kilos. I believe 83 is probably the most populated class for all males in most age categories. It's just the standard 183-pound ceiling limit, which is an average size male for the most part, especially in strength sports when they're jacked. So you have 3 white lights for him. Kyler Dirksen off to a good start. He's 4 for 4 for the day. And we're going to go up to Griffin Johns for 87.5.
Griffin next at 87.5 kilograms.
All right, so we're on our break on platform 1, and we're waiting for Griffin Johns on platform 2. just shy of 200 pounds, so 87.5 kilos on the bar. He's going to get himself set. The one rule with setting up was brought in fairly recently. You can't put your feet on the bench to set up, but he does like to come in from the head of the bench, and so he just asked the spotter to step out of the way so that he could get himself set up. And it was a good lift. So the weight's going to go up a little bit here, 92.5 kilos on the bar for our next lifter, Cannon. He is a student in Calgary, got into lifting from his friends. So as I'd mentioned earlier, you see how these lifters are getting set, and we're going to see the referees put their hands up. They're going to watch for all kinds of little intricate things. Wait for his feet. He's got to wait for his start command. We'll see if they give that to him or if they considered that a false start. They did, and so you saw that little bit of a start there. They considered that beating the start command, so he did catch himself, but not before it was obvious that he had started before he was ready. So we're going to go to 95 kilos on the bar for Ryan. Ryan's come from Victoria. He said that bullying is what inspired him to get into powerlifting.
I know personally, before I started powerlifting, I was a less confident person. There's something about progressing in your lifts and knowing that you can do something and beating yourself, your own goals, time and time again, that just builds confidence in your life, and I'm sure it's a great way to stand up to bullies. Sub-juniors, they're dealing with a lot of stuff in high school. It's not always easy.
I think the thing that made me fall in love with powerlifting was the respect for what your body can do, and not just how it looks or how you look. You know, we see all ranges of body type, all ranges of people here. Powerlifting really is a sport that, you know, I say nobody cares how you look. We just care what you put on the bar, and we want to see everybody do well. Powerlifters are some of the best people in sport. They are the most encouraging people. We all know what it feels like to step on that platform and just want to be better, lift more, and get stronger.
Absolutely. 3 white lights for our lifter there, Jasper Kotowicz, off to Bryce Coney. Remember Bryce and his bit of his struggles in the squats. He was able to come back and get that third. So hopefully he can keep going with his bench press. Thus far, no bombs. When we say bomb, what is a bomb?
So bomb just means you didn't get at least 1 squat, 1 bench press, or 1 deadlift. So your total will technically be 0.
You know, I was impressed that I don't believe, was there a bomb in your equipped lifting session 2 days ago, yesterday, whenever that was? I don't think so.
I don't think we did. And bombing is a bit more common in equipped lifting. Unfortunately, I've been on the side of that you don't want. It's a bit more common in equipped lifting just because of some of the technical stuff. It's not just a pure strength thing when it comes to equipped lifting. But we do see it across both unequipped and equipped. You never want to see anybody bomb. But yeah, I don't think we haven't seen very many bombs this week.
That speaks to sort of the quality of the lifting that we have here at Westerns. You know, you might see bombs happen at a local meet because people don't even know the rules half the time. Powerlifting is a sport where not everybody's read the rule book. And it's something I advise anybody listening here today to read the rules. You will be a better lifter.
It's such an inspiring read. It is a tough read, but, you know, make sure that you're at least familiar. If you're going to compete in powerlifting, again, it's easy to get into. Check out the federation in your province, and you can get connected. You can speak with lots of people. Usually there's contact information. You can reach out, find out what some local meets are in your area. But definitely, at the very least, read through the basic technical rules so you know what you're allowed to wear on the platform, what your commands are going to be, and if you can get connected to somebody who's already in the sport, they can give you the Coles Notes version of the technical manual.
There you go. On platform 2 there, we had a bench from Alex Yang. It was ultimately a good lift. There was sort of a conversation in the middle of that thing. He had laid down and they made him sit up and talk. What are some of the reasons you might not get a start command in the bench press?
So they may have thought that his feet were not flat on the floor, that his butt was not down, his head was not down, or his elbows were not locked. They saw something obviously that indicated that he was not going to get white lights, and so they told him to replace the bar. The chief referee would have given him the appropriate correction, and providing he had time on the clock, he would have been allowed to make that before he got to start his lift.
Impressive. He did get a good lift, as well as our lifter here, John Kakos, did get 3 white lights as well. Something about simple meat, I spoke about that earlier, is those lights are instantaneous. Your score sheet is updated instantaneous. So sometimes if we're stuttering on our words of who lifted, that lift happened and our score sheet's already on to the next one because it is so quick. Truly a marvelous technology. Now we have Turner Renard up next, 117.5 kilos. He had a rough squat, 195 opener, and missed his next 2, unfortunately. So hopefully he goes 3 for 3 on these benches.
Again, it might not have been the squat day he wanted. It is the squat day he got, and at least he's able to continue on in the competition. And that's really what matters. You know, at the end of the day, what you really want is to be able to get a total.
Absolutely. Okay. Just adjusting my sheet here. 135 for Zia Imani. Turner was successful with his lift. Zia Imani going up for 135 kilos. Quite a big start for Zia and Bo to follow. We have another 45 seconds before we get going on platform 1, platform A. Dusty Deer will start us off. Platform 2, Zia's up there. Now, I've seen some people, there's some dudes handing off a bar and then running out of the way. Sometimes it's not happening. What is that?
So that's just a preference, whether the lifter would like assistance, so a handoff, or not. Some lifters don't train with it, and so they don't take one in competition. It's a little more predictable if you do it that way. You get the same thing all the time. But, you know, lots of lifters prefer it, and they get a little bit out of getting a handoff. They can get their shoulders set a bit better. Maybe they like the bar out a little bit further out in or over top of them or in front. It's more of a preference thing, but you'll see sometimes they won't want a handoff, sometimes they do.
Predictability versus theoretical maximal strength. I know when I've been out there, I started my career wanting a handoff, but then sometimes there'll just be miscommunication. The handoff might be too strong or not strong enough. You can't predict the quality of handoff you're going to get or the familiarity. And, you know, our spotters are quite tired. Maybe they've had a long day. They just might have an off attempt. Your training partner in the gym might be a little bit different than what you're used to. And I found later in my career that I didn't want a handoff just because it was easier for me to control my own variables. So 3 white lights for Bo Trung. You know, he has already set that national record twice for the squat, and he's potentially going to be getting a bench and or a deadlift and or a total record. What is a total?
So your total is your best squat, your best bench, and your best deadlift all added up.
So you have the opportunity to get a combination of up to 4 different record standards in a powerlifting event. You can get that squat, bench, and deadlift, and you can break it several times. You could theoretically get up to, 12 records in one event if you break them all every single lift. I've seen it happen.
And it was really important for Bo to get a bench, and it'll be important for him to get a deadlift. You will only actually register that record if you get a total. So you can set a squat record by 100 kilos, but if you don't get a bench press or you don't get a deadlift, so that means you get a 0 for your total, you actually do not register that squat record. So it's really important to make sure when you've got a record that you prioritize getting a total in the meet so you can apply for that record and it goes on the record books.
Any family and friends listening or any lifters watching this back later on our live stream, I would advocate that if you did break a provincial or national record, please apply for it as well. If you don't apply in time, they may not give it to you.
They will not give it to you. We are getting very strict because of the volume of lifters we have in the CPU, the volume of records coming in. We need to make sure that we're adhering to that rule all of the time. And so you have 7 days from the end of the event. You're going to need to know all the information, all your personal information on what you lifted, what records you got, and you're going to need to have your CPU card handy. So make sure you've got that when you go on to the record application page on our powerlifting.ca website.
Now we had a mislift for Cannon Kirkwood on his first. He's going to try and redeem himself on lift number 2. We're looking back on our Masters platform. I'm looking at our score sheet. Tim Nadeau had a bit of difficulties with the squat, but other than that, that is an all green score sheet. These Masters are blowing me away. Cannon setting up. As we said, he needs some help with this one. Not some help, but he does need the lift. On platform 1, Emi Garzito. That seemed quite smooth. 3 white lights.
Cannon didn't miss his first attempt on strength. He just missed it on a technicality. Looks like maybe he's cleaned that up so far. So let's hope he holds it and gets 3 white lights on this. 2 white lights is good enough.
Now what is a red?
So a red would be on the bench press. Generally these days it's going to be what we call bench depth. So that's a fairly new rule. What we're looking for is the elbow to pass a mark on the shoulder. And so it's pretty hard to see as a referee. It's one of those things that, I feel like I'm continuing to figure out and work on. Again, it's a fairly new rule, but that would have been what that call was.
How many years have you been a referee, Chantel?
I have been a provincial referee since, I think, 2012, national since 2016, and then I just recently did my Cat 2 test in Romania.
Oh my goodness, what's a Cat 2?
So that's the first level of international referee. I have to think about it because it doesn't make sense to me that a Cat 2 is your first level, but it is what it is. So I get to wear a blue tie these days.
Good for you. Good for you. And the red tie would be what, a Cat 1?
Cat 1. Those are our highest level of referee.
And what's the difference?
Years of experience generally, and more tests.
More tests. A lot of tests in powerlifting.
A lot of tests if you want to be a referee.
Very large combination of objective and subjective factors in powerlifting judging. You need to know numbers, you need to know rules, you need to know stats, but you also have to have some good judgment out there.
Absolutely, and you get good judgment with experience a lot of the time. I mean, you always are going to just be a human being, and what that means is that you are limited sometimes by, just blinking sometimes. You're going to make the best call you can make in the moment. We're getting better and better with our ability to overturn lifts that should have been good and weren't because we have juries at international events. We are now using instant replay. So we are getting better and better. The quality of our reffing is improving. The quality of the calls that are getting through are getting better. So it's really nice to see for the sport. Refereeing really matters for a sport in its legitimacy.
Something I've noted about Canadian refereeing is it's almost competitive to be the best referee amongst the Canadian referees. I think there's not to downplay anybody else in any other countries, but I think the Canadian refereeing standard might be one of the best, highest, tightest standards in the world.
I think it's really important that we hold our referees to the standard, right? That we make sure that we have a feedback system for our referees that says, hey, you know what, I noticed you have a bit of a blind spot here. This is something that you tend to do. I know personally for me as a referee, when I've got people on the jury watching my refereeing, I'll sometimes say, please give me any feedback you've got because I don't know, as a human being, I don't know if I have a blind spot, something that I'm consistently missing unless I have my colleagues giving me that feedback.
Now, I'm not certain who our referees are in the front. I think they're national referees, but regionals and the nationals and CPU, you're able to do a referee test. You may have your 2 or 3 or 4 years of experience as a ref in your home province, and this is the place to do it. You get a test, you have to do a written, and then you have to do a practical examination. In order to pass, you need, I believe, 90% on both. So it is a high standard. Imagine going to grade 10 and doing a test, and you need to get 90 and everything in order to continue on in the grade. That's tough, but that's the standard we hold our referees to here in Canada. And we've been ignoring some of the lifting here because it's all greens all the time. 3 white lights, 3 white lights, 3 white lights for everybody. Back on platform 2, we have John getting ready to come out and Deb Allard on platform 1. Now, as a referee, continuing on this conversation, the amount of things you have to look for in the bench press, I believe, is more thorough than the other lifts. it is a harder lift to call, especially from that side chair. What do you think?
Absolutely. I would think most referees would agree. You've got a lot to watch for. A lot of things, your eyes are bouncing back and forth quite a bit, from the butt to the feet to the head to the arms to the bar. You are watching for a lot. There's big room for error. Again, that's where our jury comes in. It's where our instant replay, when we've got it at larger events, comes in. So it's really, as a referee, nothing nicer than seeing somebody just make it a real nice, clean bench press. You can confidently give them that white light.
Now on platform 1 we had 3 white lights. On platform 2 there was another red circle, red card. So what I've heard in the banter is with this new rule on elbow depth, lifters are confused, referees are confused. If anybody is confused just hearing the verbal descriptions here, if you go to the IPF rulebook, which you can Google, International Powerlifting Federation Technical Rules, on your favorite Google or Yahoo search engine, you'll be able to find various, I think there's probably 5 pictures describing what we're talking about. Essentially the elbow, bottom of the elbow does have to pass the middle of the shoulder, and it's a newer rule, but it is one that was needed just due to some of the advantage being taken of some of the lifters to absolutely minimize the bar path they had. You look at some, especially smaller lifters with short arms, they're able to maximize their grip, and it turns into a 1-inch bench press. So they introduced this rule to try and sort of even the field or even out the limb so that athletes weren't always able to take advantage of this rules of the width of the bar so thoroughly. And I think it's done a lot to even out the playing field.
Yeah, it's more akin, I think, to the squat, where we have a minimum depth required, a landmark that you're watching for. I think that's the same idea in the bench press rule, right? We're having a minimum range of motion required.
I don't know if you know this, but some people don't like change.
Well, that I have heard. And it is hard. It's hard to adapt. I think about how long I've been in the sport and how many times little things have changed over the years. There's always going to be change. Change is inevitable. So I'm sure that, even though we're all still getting used to it, we will adjust, we will adapt. Most people have already more than adapted to this rule.
And it's one of those things where you're coming to regionals, you might not have been called on it at a local meet, maybe you have. It's always a good learning opportunity to get these cards. It gives you something to go back and train on in the gym. 145 was successful for Zia. Now we got Bo coming up, 152 on platform 1. Garvin Cole, let's see.
Garvin looked like he was having a tough time getting his start command. I think his elbows just didn't look locked.
It does appear that they thought his elbows were fine. Ultimately, which is good, he was able to correct himself, but the one side ref did give him a depth call for red. There's a chance, however, there is a second red card option, and that is not touching your chest. We don't generally see that in the unequipped.
In raw, yeah.
Now, in equipped lifting, you have to essentially row the bar down to your chest, and sometimes people aren't strong enough or they just don't technically get it there. So for years, that was the only real red card. So it's nice to have another more frequently thrown red card for our referees to use. Now, Bo was successful on his attempt on platform 2. We are going into thirds with Kyler starting us off.
It looked tough for Henriette, but it's a good lift.
All right.
This flight A on platform 1, they are incredible. We have a completely green score sheet.
It is phenomenal to see. Oh, right here. Now, I'm seeing on the lifter screens there that there's a safety. Now, explain the safeties to me.
So safeties are required for essentially safety. Spotters are, again, human beings, and sometimes things happen. And so those safeties are actually required to be set to a height that will protect you in the event that a side spot misses the bar or something unpredictable happens. That safety will keep you safe, keep you from getting seriously injured. There are some horror stories from back in the olden days before we had safeties required.
Yeah, people are scared of falling, and getting crushed on the squat, but I don't know what the stats are, but I would say a bench press is probably more dangerous when it comes to a bar landing on your face or your neck.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I haven't trained without safety set in my own gym for a very, very long time.
Fun fact, the safeties are not for squats. They are for the bench press. I've seen many a rack destroyed on the internet from people dropping squats on our bench press safeties.
Yeah, now the nice thing about these Med-X T-Racks, they are wide, they are long, so I do squat in mine with the safeties, with one spotter, of course, to be able to keep me on. Now, knock wood, I've never had to test how stable that Med-X T-Rack is. I hope I don't. But yeah, they are technically designed for the bench press, but they are nice and long. So they do extend quite a ways, and these racks are nice and wide. So they are very stable, but the safeties are there to keep you safe in the bench press.
The thing about a new company like Met is that they've been able to see what their predecessors have had issues with and perhaps corrected some of the more challenging aspects of the equipment. Canon on platform 2 was 2-to-1, 1 red for the elbow depth. He did get a good lift.
And Janique was good over here on platform 1. And we have, I think, a record attempt already from Marnell.
Amazing. Sorry, that was Griffin Johns with the 2-to-1 call. Cannon was straight good. Ryan Semke up as well. He's a quick setup, 105 kilos. Marnell, 53.5, as we've already said. I saw Marnell lift last time, and she got the squat, bench, and total, and deadlift, and total record, all 4 in the equipped session for herself. Amazing.
Like I said, I think she might be a robot at this point, out here competing just a couple of days after setting a ton of records in the equipped division, and now she's going for another record today.
47 kilos as a body weight. 47. Is that the smallest age weight category for our female lifters?
For females, until you're sub-junior. There is one lower weight category, but only for sub-junior lifters.
Absolutely impressive, and it really highlights the fact that you can be a person of any age and any size. We spoke about age limits within, say, gymnastics. And there's other sports where if you're too small, you're just not going to be competitive. If you're too large, you're just not going to be competitive. It's just a thing. You can't be in a cardio sport and be a very heavy person. You can't be play football and be the tiniest person out there. So it's really cool that powerlifting is so inclusive. There's not a lot of people that cannot compete in powerlifting. There's options for people with mental disabilities, physical limitations. The Special Olympics para-powerlifting for people that have had certain amputations or disabilities. Almost everybody is able to compete in powerlifting. There's powerlifting for the blind. It is a very, very inclusive sport.
Bars loaded on 2.
Just not there for athlete Garzito on platform 1.
Everybody gave her a 3 card. Now again, we can't hear the commands from here, but it looked like it was a little bit wobbly on her chest, so I wonder if they thought that she beat the press command.
It's one of those things where you can have the best technical, you can be absolutely smoking the weight, but if you do beat one of those commands, unfortunately, you will not get a good lift. Now on the right, Bryce Goney up for 112 for his 3rd bench. Again, Bryce nearly didn't complete a 3rd squat. However, he did get it, and now it appears to be 3 for 3 on his bench press. Let's see what they say. Yeah, it's 3 for 3.
He's turned things around nicely.
He's probably feeling pretty good in the back there. It says a lot to mental fortitude to be able to turn your day around like that. And Kelly Warden, likewise, 3 white lights. Kelly
that was a good grind for her.
5 for 5 for Kelly, as with most of our masters. Alex Yang coming out with a 150 kilo bench press. He declines a handoff. He doesn't want one. He's not comfortable with one, and that's okay. Gives a break to our spotters. See photography up there from Niche Media. That is the angles that you're going to get when you get that media package. Action shots from the finest. The referee's getting a very, very close view. So many things to watch for. And that is probably a good lift. Good job, Alex Yang. Brenda on platform A, platform 1. Brenda out of Manitoba, 84 plus kilos.
Bars loaded on 2 for John.
She said she was tired of the regular gym routine and just looking for something else to keep her engaged. I think a lot of people come to powerlifting because they're going to the gym, but it's kind of an aimless thing unless you've got a goal, and powerlifting gives you this nice goal around what can I do? How can I get stronger in a really a way that is almost, it's really measurable, because you can come out here, do it on the platform, know you've done it to a competition standard.
It's different to go to the gym and just say, I would like to be physically active and I would like to have some longevity in my life, versus people in powerlifting, it becomes almost a lifestyle. They live to improve those numbers. A lot of times, the best athletes in the world base their life around it. Whereas a person that might go to the gym 3 days a week to use the Nautilus machines, it's not the same thing. It truly is a sport. People like to undersell powerlifting as a sport, but we are a sport.
Absolutely.
Gosh darn it. Deb Allard with the grind. See what they say. 2-1, it's a good lift.
So we just saw John on platform 2. He PR'd his bench press today by 12.5 kilos.
Oh my goodness, it's those sub-junior hormones. I said the S word earlier today, steroids. Now we have the Canadian Centre of Ethics in Sport out here today. Fun fact about powerlifting, it is a drug-tested sport within the IPF and its affiliates like the CPU. Now Zia Imani, we loaded up to 150 kilos on platform 1. We're going up to 82.5 for Garvin Cole. Garvin's the strongest lifter in our bench press for flight A.
Zia is also going for a personal best on this attempt. His personal best is recorded as 145.5, so he is trying to go up to 150 for a personal best here.
Now that off integer means he's probably a provincial record holder in BC. Garvin, 82.5. Nice controlled descent.
Garvin said he was inspired to start powerlifting by Glyn Moore. Now, folks who maybe haven't been around for a long time don't know who Glyn is. Glyn was out in Niagara, one of the founders of the Canadian Powerlifting Union. Unfortunately, we lost him a few years ago, but he is absolutely iconic in the Canadian Powerlifting Union.
Fondly remembered, lifting and refereeing until his final days. We best wishes to his family. Manitoba still has a Glyn Moore special rack in our storage unit, the Moore rack. It's been around for a long time. It was in my garage for a few years during COVID. Legacy equipment.
It'll probably last forever.
Just like Glyn's legacy. Henrietta Espy on platform 1, setting herself up. Now that national record attempt from Bo on platform 2. Bo is going for his second on national record, his second lift's worth of national records. Henrietta, not quite there today. Let's see if Bo gets that record.
Let's make some noise for Bo with a new national record. Come on, Bo!
Quick setup. Very technically proficient. Referee cam there.
Let's go, Bo! Let's go!
No, Bo.
Great fight, but just not there.
Next time.
That's all right.
He'll try it again. He'll try it again in his next competition.
He's still having a pretty good competition so far. He's got that squat record. Didn't just chip it. He chipped it on his second and then even increased it on his third. I don't know what the total record is in his weight class, but I'm sure we will get a chance to see it, and he might be taking a swing at that today.
Absolutely. So there is flight B is starting on platform 2. Platform A, Hemi Rosito, very smooth, very nice lift.
She may have redeemed herself on that one. She did, came back, missed it on her second, a bit of a technical thing, and came back and got that on her third.
Incredible. Now, if anybody's looking at our score sheet, Dusty Deer and Garvin Cole both have blanks and they're red. Can you please explain what that may indicate?
So what that indicates is they've decided to just pass the attempt. So you can do two things if you're going to choose to not take an attempt. You can put an attempt in and time out. So what that means is you're just putting the attempt in, the platform crew is going to load it, referees are going to start their clock, and they're going to count down to 1 minute until you reach that time. And then you're going to get your 3 red lights saying you didn't get the lift. When we don't have an attempt in and we just have a red blank spot, that means they just opted to not put an attempt in and they're going to pass. Some people might choose to put an attempt in. It's a courtesy move when you've got a small flight. particularly equipped when you've got a quick turnaround, things like wrapping knees, that kind of thing. In this flight, they've just opted to pass the attempt. It's third attempts, and so it's just going to speed this up a little bit. They're going to get through a little bit faster.
They know their limits. Garvin Cole missed the second bench, and he said it's probably not worth it to lose that extra energy on a third grind when he can save his energy for deadlifts. There's a humility in passing.
Absolutely.
Now Ken Morris looks like it's 3 white lights for himself, and Janick Lafond has quite long arms. That's a large bar path for herself. Unfortunately, did not get her third. She'll come back for deadlifts. Marnell.
Marnell's going to try and increase her record here.
56.5 on top of 53.5. Now to be doing such gains again as an M3 athlete is quite inspirational.
Robot. That's what I say. Marnell is a robot.
Now we have 97.5 for Tennyson Webb. See how Tennyson does before we go to Marnell. Tennyson down. Now, I've seen maybe they go down a bit fast, maybe it's just not a controlled descent, or maybe they're floating a little bit. The referees are waiting for that bar to stop until they give that press command.
Absolutely. You will not get a press command until you are motionless. So the rule requires that the bar comes to your chest and it is motionless before you get a press command. It's not a pause, but it needs to be motionless. So you might want to be training with a little bit of a pause in the gym, and you want to be getting really skilled at getting that bar to come to a dead stop. The sooner you get it to a dead stop, the sooner you should get your press command.
I've heard athletes complain about long commands, but I've also seen athletes that are wobbly and bouncy. Unfortunately, Marnell did not get that record, but she'll come back on her next one.
Well, she already got the record on her second. She just tried to increase it again on her third. I guess Marnell does have a limit.
Maybe next time. So Kaylin, 110 kilos coming up.
Bars loaded on both platforms for Kelly on 1, Kaylin on 2, 57.5 on 1, 110 on 2, and with that loaded bar on 1, there are no more.
So this will match Kelly's best bench press in competition. So definitely in her wheelhouse. Maybe opted to not go up to try and get a PR today. Sometimes it's just not there.
You play the card you're dealt sometimes. It needs to be mentioned, Austin Zettner's our announcer today. He's managing both platforms at the exact same time. He's got a voice, he's loud, he's keeping the crowd involved, so thank you, Austin, for taking on this event for us. Kelly, not quite. Kaylin did get his 3 right lights. Kaylin's having a great day. So far, so good, 100% effort there. Kyle Johnson up on platform 2, 112.5. Brenda is doing 70.5. That is a national record for the 84-plus category. Let's see how she does. Brenda was actually part of the formal crew for the committee in Brandon, Manitoba last year, Westerns. She gives back to the sport quite a bit.
And she is going to try to chip a record here.
Let's see how she does.
Kyle has come in from Alberta. His goal is to go 9 for 9 and get a 600 kilo total. And not quite a 9 for 9 day, but he has turned it around so far after missing his first squat.
But I can't remember the details of his first squat, but he did go up 10, and so I'm assuming it might have been a technical issue. Sometimes athletes have to gamble on that. Are they willing to go heavier and maybe miss again? Brenda, unfortunately, not quite there for the national record. We are going to 71 kilos for Deb Allard, another national record. Their records breaking all over the place here today. 69 kilo class, it's relatively new. Can you explain what the weight class changes with the females recently?
Yeah, I think it was 2020 that 2020 was a lost year, I think, but if I recall correctly, it was 2020. The IPF decided to make the same number of weight classes for men as there was for women. There used to be one fewer weight class for women that there was for men. And there was a big jump. So it was from 63 to 72 kilos for women. And what they did is they took essentially 72, they retired all those records, and they divided the weight classes to 69 and 76. So there's a little more consistent jumps. I think they designed it kind of looking at a bell curve. And it did give us the same number of weight classes for men's and women's divisions. And so that's when we say the 69 and the 76 weight classes are relatively new.
No, just not there.
Good information. Not quite there for Deb. I don't think that's an 11 or 12% body weight gap they had before. That was quite a big gap. So it is nice then. There was a lot of middleweight women, anyways. It's it spread the load out because that 72 class used to be very stacked. As did the was it 63 was still the same, I believe.
63 is.
Those
the
were
same.
two very highly populated classes. So it's nice to split those middleweights out.
Brings us a little more in line with Olympic weightlifting weight classes as well. We saw the other weight class changes. So back in 2012, I believe, I might be wrong on my dates. Maybe it was 2013 or somewhere around there. We went away from some of the other weight classes in some other federations, where we had, like in the women's, a 60 kilo weight class, 67.5 kilo weight class, and we went more in line with Olympic weightlifting. With our, the weight classes we have today. And then, like I said, back in 2020, I believe, we saw that one women's weight class divide retired records and then go to 69 and 76.
There's been a lot of sociological things that have happened since COVID-19, but seeing our numbers surpass where they used to be. Powerlifting, again, like most things, was on life support there for a bit. We were able to get through it as an organization. The amount of new lifters that have come out of the other side of the pandemic, maybe they were bored during lockdown and learned how to lift weights. There's a before and after effect in CPU, and we're surpassing our all-time memberships now, which is really, really, really nice to see. Memberships were down for a bit, and now they're back to an all-time high.
Last night I was on the live stream, and we were talking about how many people are at this Western Canadian Championships. Just shy of 500 entries, and I joked that I think there was about 500 people in our entire Canadian Powerlifting Union membership when I started powerlifting. So the increase in numbers, the strength has been phenomenal in this sport.
I believe the first time we ever had two platforms at a nationals was 2018, and that was more of a luxury. It's a necessity today.
Absolutely.
We had 4 days to fill a schedule, anticipating originally, 250 athletes, 300 maybe. I think between the world qualifying teams, deviance this year, just due to scheduling, and I don't know if any was able to predict the natural growth of all the organic growth of the organization either. So it's very commendable that our meet directors were able to maintain the same days of the venue, get the personnel to have a 5-person jury, which is substantial, at a regional event, and still pull it off seamlessly. This is one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive, CPU meets I've ever been to. On platform 2 is 2-to-1. The head ref did call them for bench elbows, not being deep enough. And that's the thing, we have 3 different views for our referees on the bench press as well. We talked about it with the squats. Because you have so many things to look at in the bench press, the head ref has a totally different view of things than the sides. Now we have on platform 1 Lewis Knoppers in first place, Alberta. He is attempting 100 kilos. Lewis has done, I don't know, at least 2 or 3 competitions in his day.
At least
200 or 300 probably. 3 white lights for him. Tennyson on the right on platform 2.
a little bit harder, but that was Tennyson's second, and we just saw Lewis is just on his opener there. So that seemed like a pretty good increase for Tennyson. You see openers, you want to have confidence on. You want to be able to move that weight, even on a bad day. Seconds, you might see them slow down a little bit. You're maybe pushing towards closer to your capacity, and then third attempts, that's where we'll see people go for broke. They might be going for PRs or going for records, seeing what they have today, going all out. I
did see from the start of, the score sheet saying that somebody may have 90 kilos, and then they start the event with 85. Somewhere along the way, somebody changes that number. How does that work for your opening attempt change?
Oh, so you can change. You have up to 3 minutes before the flight starts if you're flight A, or up to 3 lifters out if you're flight B, to change your opening attempt. Like we had mentioned, if you don't get your opening attempt and you failed it on strength, you can't decrease your opening attempt. So you definitely want to make sure that that opening attempt is something that you can do even on a bad day. So lots of lifters will try in the back room, in the warm-up room, they'll be trying to get their last warm-up done before attempt changes, before that 3 minutes or that 3 lifters out, so that they have an opportunity to make sure things are moving as planned, so that they could drop that opener to make sure they get it in.
Many a new lifter, many a young lifter, juniors may be notorious for this. They go in there, they know that they're going to hit this in the gym. They're going to hit that 200 kilogram deadlift. They know it, so they come here and they know it. However, they don't take into account the fact that they may be tired. Something may have happened along the way. So it takes, maybe themselves, maybe they're humble enough to, or their coaches can call them on it and lower that 10 kilos and they go to 190, just to be able to make sure that they're getting that total and continuing on with their day. Game day and gym days are not the same thing.
So Mark's having a difficult time getting his start command. We can't see exactly what they were calling. He seemed to think it was his elbows. He was seeming to lock out his elbows quite a bit, but I think it was actually his feet.
Now it was 3 yellow lights, or 3 red lights with the yellow cards. So he will inquire with the referees. He may go to the jury table. He might have been able to find out just walking to the back what was his issue. But as you said, it might have been his feet, might have been his butt, could have been his shoulders, could have been his head, could have been a lot of things, could have been his elbows. That's the thing with masters lifters and lifters in general. There can be a lot of issues with joints, technical issues. There's so many variables on the bench press.
And when we see a 3 card up there, so that's the yellow highlighted circle around the red. When you see the lights come up, we sort of joke there's a very defined infraction for a red. There's a very defined infraction set limit for a blue card, and yellow is kind of just everything else.
Yes.
Outside of those rules. So many things that it could have been, and because we can't hear exactly what's going on out there, we're not really sure. But we got 3 white lights right after that. So then we got back on track on platform 1.
Now we have Kaylin Rayet got it 3 white lights as well. Riley Bresky will be up at 130 on platform 2. Tim Nadeau got his second squat. He's 1 for 3 thus far. Let's see if he can smoke his opening bench press and carry on with his day, as we've seen some other athletes come back and have very successful events. I saw an equipped lifter that had 4 missed lifts in a row and then came back and had a great day. It's always a variable. Every story is a little bit different. On the second platform, you're seeing them cleaning up the bar. Our spotters and loaders are very diligent to making sure no bodily fluids are on those bars. It's a safety issue. It might have been some blood, so they're cleaning it up. A little bit of a delay, but such is life. Tim racks the bar, 3 white lights.
Tim's goal today is to lift more than his son. And he said that he is inspired to powerlift because he really likes wearing a singlet. That seems like something Tim would say.
Tim. He's always free to wear a singlet in his daily life. He just likes to show off, I think.
He says he's a director in his day-to-day job, so they may or may not appreciate a singlet in the office.
That's Tim for you. Now, Tim's interesting. He has very long limbs, so what might be the max legal width for him isn't necessarily the same angle as the max legal width of somebody else. What is the max legal width? What does that mean? What are those little rings?
So 81 centimeters. So those rings on the bar that you can see when we look head on, 81 centimeters apart. Your index finger cannot be outside of those rings. You can be anywhere inside of them, but you cannot be any wider than having your index fingers outside of those rings.
Interesting, because you get the 47 kilo females like Marnell, and then you get the 500-pound man. They're doing the exact same thing. They might have a difference of 10 inches or more in their arm lengths, but they are still following the same rules, the same barbells as all size athletes. So there are variables. Now, Court, that was a very good attempt. He was not getting it. He's saving it for his next attempt. It is tricky when you come out there and your first lift might not have been completed due to a strength issue. So he'll regroup. He'll come back for a second and try again. Tate Platform 2 has 183 loaded. That's significantly heavier than his peers, and he is going for a national record attempt.
Another record for Tate. This will be a national best.
This young man is having quite the day so far. His squat was fantastic, 272.5 kilos, and going for a national record attempt on his second bench press. He's not waiting for his third bench press to get the record. He's going to say, let me do it on my second, and I can then increase it even further, just to make a commanding increase on that record.
Commanding for Mr. Commandeur. Commanding. Was that intentional?
You know what? I'd like to say that it was. I'm just that good, Matt. I'm just that good.
Commander Chantel. And we have Dean Smith as well on platform 1 going similar timing. Dean slightly ahead. Let's see how he does. Confident descent, confident ascent. Easy for himself. Now let's see how our national record goes for Tate Commandeur on the right.
Coming up on 2, let's go Tate. Let's go Tate, come on, fight it, punch it, punch it.
That's not a no. Let's see what they say.
That looked good from our angle, didn't it?
3 white lights. Wow, congratulations, Mr. Commandeur. That was 183 kilograms and 105 and under 19 years old.
It'll be interesting to see what they do on his third. He doesn't look like he's got a ton of range. So, but you know what? He's got the record.
A lot of times it could just be nerves. Maybe he's calmed down. He's got that record. Now he's going to just, he'll calm down and try again. Maybe his third's easier than his second. I've seen a lot of wild things. We've seen people grind and grind and grind and grind their second and come out and smoke their third. There are so many anomalies on game day. Darcy, platform 1, that was fast.
Very nice opening attempt.
And last but not least on platform 1 is Lloyd, 170 kilos. Platform 2, Tennyson Webb, 102.5. Starting us off on our third attempt for the bench press.
170 kilos on platform 1. Tennyson with 102.5 going up.
Not quite there, not quite there. Now sometimes we see on the bench press people are just vibrating up top. What is that about?
Often it's just that effort they're putting in, right? We think about this is his third attempt. He's going to go see what he can do. He's maybe never had this weight in his hands before, and you put in all that kind of effort. You grip the bar really hard, and you just might get a little bit of a shimmy and a shake.
Absolutely. Now on platform 1, Lloyd, as we said, heaviest bencher of the day on platform 1, 170 kilograms. He's an M2. He's between 50 and 59 years old. He's got 40 seconds left. Lots of time. And that's the thing, is if you can get yourself out there nice and early, you have a very long time to set up. Now, Lloyd's our ultra raw lifter as well. No supportive gear whatsoever. However, it appears he might not be fully locked out with his elbows or something.
Sometimes it's the angle at which they look, right? So depending on your grip and depending on the angle that you see them at, that big bicep might be really obscuring the view as well. So you got to look at the back of the elbow, and depending on how the referees are seeing it, can sometimes look a little bit different. He got into powerlifting because he has a strong bench, and he wanted to see what he could do to competition standards.
Yeah, impressive stuff. We talk about inclusivity. One of the only things that will not allow you to lift is if you can't lock out your joints, maybe your knees, your elbows, or your back. If you can't stand up straight on some of the lifts. That's one of the only limiting factors to being able to compete in powerlifting. Unfortunately, some people just can't extend their limbs, but we do our best.
Yeah, it was a changed rule a few years ago. So we talked about how the rules change over the years, and so I don't remember what year it was that the rules changed. It used to be that if you couldn't lock out your elbow completely, you could go and show the jury ahead of time, show the chief referee what your capacity was. And then as long as you were locked out to your capacity. The problem with that is just the range of kind of vague decisions around that. And so to reduce vagueness in the decisions, reduce vagueness in the calls, they unfortunately went to essentially locked out. And so if you can't lock out an elbow, you can't lock out a knee, you can try. Sometimes you might get away with it because it looks locked out depending on the angle. But the reality is sometimes you just don't, and you can't lock out.
At the same time, I've had people, they have claimed that they can't lock out. And they've been receptive to maybe some feedback on turning their shoulders in or out, the wrists in or out, and all of a sudden they can fully lock out. So it's not to say it's impossible to change your technique, but some people just physically have limitations. They have some kind of disease or a disability. They just can't do it, and it's unfortunate. However, moving along here, look at that score sheet on platform 1. It's still so green.
Yeah,
Platform 2, Kyle Johnson is loping up next. Brian Tuffield on platform 1, 3 white lights. Very high quality standard of lifting here today. Kyle going for 122.5. He did want the 9 for 9. He did get his technical red on the first. I think we're calling it. It's still, this is 6 for 6 attempt right here. Technically he's 5 for 6. We'll see what happens here if he gets it.
He's already PR'd his squat, PR'd his bench. So now we'll see how close he can get to that goal of his today of 600 kilo total.
He had a bit of a crooked setup, but he was able to do it. In the bench press, it can be as crooked as it needs to be. And the elbows can lock out at different times. The bar just cannot go back down on its way up. I know personally, I was at a competition. I did a bench press one time, and my bar was going up just fine, fast. However, my shoulder did a little jerk going down up, and unfortunately, I didn't get the lift.
As long as it's in one smooth motion, right to lockout, doesn't have to be even. It's just very hard to not have up and down on the bar if you're uneven. So, not that people can't do it. It's just a little bit harder.
Absolutely. At one time, it used to be that you had to lock out simultaneously, but another thing that's a little bit difficult to judge, another variable, at the IPF world level, people can make motion changes on rules. There's now a technical committee that sort of decides the rules internally, and that's how our sport's governed now. They're trying to really standardize things to get into the Olympics ultimately one day, and we'll see if that's a reality in our lifetimes. 3 white lights on platform 2, and 2-1, 2 yellow cards. Again, the yellow can be a numerous amount of things. That was just his second attempt. He may talk to the jury, he may not. You can get feedback.
It wasn't a strength thing, so if he can clean up whatever the technical infraction was, he should be able to come back and get that.
Absolutely. Owen on platform 2. Lewis, platform 1. Now Lewis has a special setup. He has to bump Jeff out of the way, give him a nice shoulder check. Hopefully he doesn't get kicked out of the competition for aggression. Lewis is an infamously aggressive guy. I'm kidding. He's a very nice man. Jeff doing a handoff. Let's see how it goes.
Lewis's whole family is competing these days. He's got his wife has competed, and his 2 children now compete in the youth division in Alberta.
Amazing. And we'll be seeing the youth tomorrow, I believe?
Yeah, I do believe Sunday morning we've got a youth division.
I hope you tune in to check that out. It's very interesting to watch the youth. They're there with big smiles. They don't often know what they're doing. They're just there to have fun. It's some of the most enjoyable lifting you can see.
But you know, one of the coolest things about those youth is they're still lifting to the competition standards.
Absolutely. I was a coach of youth last year, I believe, for 3 of them at the same time. You know, just trying to wrangle them all together, and you're literally teaching them the technical aspects in the warm-up room because you know they may have forgotten, they haven't done a ton of training sessions in the gym, and they're learning competition standards again in the warm-up room. It's pretty cool to see, and they adapt, they overcome. With strength, belief, and determination like SPD.
Let's hope Mark gets this one on his second. He
Much
cleaned
smoother.
up. There we go.
As you said, it might have been his heels. Maybe he just quickly adjusted his feet, and that was a lot better, a lot smoother than his first. 3 white lights as well for Riley on platform 2. Now we have Tate coming out. He got the national record on his second. It was a tough one, but he's gone up 5 kilos to 188. Let's see how he does.
Again, like you said, maybe he just got the nerves out of the way. It's amazing what nerves can do. So maybe he's got this 5 kilos and he can come up and actually just smoke it on his third.
And it's like we talk about with percentages. 5 kilos at 188 is not the same as 5 kilos at 50 kilos.
That's a very good point. Yeah, he's not gonna feel that 5 kilos quite as much as if it was a smaller person handling smaller weight.
Now Fred Smith down and up.
Looks like he's gonna finish it.
That's a good weight for him. See if he can come back on his third and improve himself. Now Tate coming out.
Here comes Tate to his national record.
He's looking collected.
He's worked for it. All he's got to do is
It's
make it.
He's got 30 seconds to complete that setup.
This would be a really nice way for Tate to go into the deadlift, being able to say he's sitting 6 for 6 right now. Got himself even increased that national record in the bench press.
Let's see what he does.
Let's go, Tate! Let's go, Tate!
It's not there today.
I thought he might get through that sticking point, but an imaginary wall was there for him.
Yes, yes it was. Now what's, sorry, we'll wait for Tim to go here. Tim's on his way down.
Come on, Tim.
I wonder what his wingspan is. He's got long, long arms.
Tim is not a small person.
You know, and he got through his squats without dropping that bar. That's one of my worst fears, is spotting a tall man. All right, so on platform 2, we are into our intermission after Tate. So there'll be a 10-minute break before they come out and do the deadlifts. So we'll see them back in about 10 minutes or so.
Court does need this lift, so he's on his second attempt. He's not backed into a corner quite yet, but he did miss his opening attempt. I think it was a technical thing, if I recall.
Let's see how he does. It's about coming back for him.
He is in from Calgary today. He's a forensic chemist.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds incredibly interesting.
I think he is the CSI.
That would be pretty epic.
CSI Calgary. Okay, so he was asked to replace the rack, replace his bar. We're doing an action shot. Chantel's on her feet. I'll join her.
I don't know what they're seeing. I'm trying to get a better look at what the referees might be seeing. So I think it might be their heels. Now, sometimes it's the shoes can be a little bit deceptive. Oh, there he goes. He's going to get a start command. Okay. All right, get it out there. Come on.
You know what?
He fights for it. He gets the rack command. The judges say the lift is good.
Hey, he's got 2 white lights. That's a good lift. He's on the board.
Good for him. You know, I'm not sure if it was technical. I swear, now I could be wrong, we could press rerun and see, but I thought he grinded it and failed on strength as first.
Maybe he did.
Now, to come back and get that relatively smoothly, that says a lot about who he is as a forensic chemist. Maybe he went and checked the records and found some hack in the chemistry and got it done. Who can say? But he did. He completed it 2-1. That's a good lift. Now, Dean Smith, 147.5.
Bar is loaded on 1 for Dean.
Dean, I know he has a significant amount of provincial records, so we'll see if he's able to get into that 93 class. He's 83.29 for a body weight, so he might be record hunting today. Oftentimes, if you're at the low end of a weight class, you're probably seeking maybe a world spot, or you're seeking records. So hard to say. He's going against, he would have been going against Court 1-1, so perhaps he wanted to be in a different division to, you know, win more easier or get those records. I guess we'll see, but at the end of the day, what his outcome is.
Looked like a nice, easy lift. Yeah, technically it was clean too.
Now at the regional level and some provincial levels, and especially national and international, if you miss weight, you're not allowed to lift. So Dean, for example, he needed to be above 83 kilos in order to enter that 93 class. It's not as hard, I'm assuming, to eat your way up and drink your way up to get into a heavier weight class, but you'll see lifters that are just getting underneath their weight class in order to enter. If he was being 83, he would have got to 82.99 in order to enter that weight class. So good for Dean. He ate his way up, he had breakfast, and he was able to be a 93 today. But, you know, oftentimes we see people just crushed at the end of their weigh-ins. They weren't able to drop that last kilo. They weren't able to drop that last fraction of a kilo, and unfortunately they're not able to lift it at a level like this.
The reality is that we have our scales. They are incredibly accurate. So you see that we are going to the 100th there. So you need, if you are in the 83 kilo weight class, you need to weigh 83.00 kilos or under. And so if you weigh 83.01, you're going to get off the scale and you're going to take a few minutes and take another shot at being able to make weight. You
need to sweat, you need to spit, you need to chop off your hair. People have done some wild things in order to make weight. Now Darcy was 3 for 3 with another pretty bench press. That's he's 5 for 5. Quite a few of our Masters lifters are 5 for 5 at this point. As we said, the Masters session is a lot of green square rectangles in our score sheet here. Lloyd Welch up. And he's our biggest bencher of the day. Again, he's the ultra raw lifter. No belt, no wrist wraps, no knee sleeves, no nothing. Just shoes and a singlet and a shirt and socks. And he is on brand with SBD. And inner strength, he's wearing the meat shirt. Now, competitions like this, you'll see things like, I'm not sure what the coach is doing by dangling that sock or something, but maybe it's a cheering mechanism. Who can say for sure? That'd be a worthy interview to see what's going on.
Maybe it's his good luck charm.
It could be some kind of voodoo mechanism. I like it either way. You never know what's going to happen in powerlifting.
Dave coming up next with 90 kilos for his third attempt.
And we're starting our thirds, the bench press.
Platform 2, you have 2 minutes to change your openers to deadlifts. 2 minutes to change openers. Platform 2, flight A.
Now David officiated, throughout the weekend here today. Was in a ditch, and now he's at 5 for 5. That is resilience. That is resilience.
He's well under his best bench press ever, but you know what? That's just the reality. Sometimes travel, sometimes training blocks, sometimes age. We can't always put up a PR every time we compete. Sometimes that's the great thing about competing, is the continual pursuit of that half kilo, 1 kilo, 2.5 kilo chunks. The fight, train for 6 months and see if you can get just that little bit of an increase, or how close you can get to what you have done on your best day.
We have some Ironman athletes in the CPU where they'll, if you're at a nationals or regionals, you can do multiple events. You can do bench, you can do 3 lift, you can do raw and equipped of either. David's one of those athletes that'll do all 4 whenever he's given the chance. David loves powerlifting. Not to show nepotism, but he's done some impressive feats at nationals. Getting 4 totals in 1 week is a success.
Maybe it's a good thing he's semi-retired so he can go home and sleep.
He's semi-retired is good for a lot of people. Brian Tuffold, 90 kilos.
Let's go, Brian. Keep it going, Brian.
Just not there, unfortunately.
That's all right. He's still in the game.
It's okay. He'll be back for the deadlifts. 97.5 for James Naherniak coming up.
Jimmy coming up next with 97.5.
Now we see the plates here, they're color coded. We haven't really talked about this. Now, why are we doing the same? Like, why are all our 25s red? What is that about? Is it a visual thing, or what do you think?
So, I don't know when the colors came in. But it does help for referees to be able to see what's happening. So, in part, those first plates, they have to face in. The referees on the opposite sides can see what those plates are. They're visible. The weight is visible to them. And then there is a standard plate coloring these days. Now, the small plates, anything under 10s can be any color, though most companies have gone to the standard white, black, silver. Though you might see a bit of variability in some other companies with those smaller plates. But it helps be able to make the loads really clear and ensure that we don't have any misloads. Misloads can be a pretty disastrous thing for a lifter, for injury potential. Definitely not a good thing. So I don't know too much of the history on when the colors came in and if that's totally why. But what I do know as a referee, it does help me visibly be able to see if the load is correct.
Absolutely. That appears to be a good lift for Bryce. On to Lewis Knoppers once again now. Bryce, we missed it, but his second was a no lift. He was able to come back and get his third. Good job, Bryce. Now, yeah, Lewis Knoppers going up to 115. The MedXT plates, I was spotting yesterday. They have a nice ridge, easy to grip, easy to hold, and how we have to weigh our plates. Theoretically, every single plate is weighed before a competition like this. I believe it was for this one, just to make sure they're calibrated down to is it the 100th or the 1000th decimal point, to make sure that everybody's lifting the same amount of weights. You go to a commercial gym, 45 pounds, maybe 52, it might be 40, you never know. So we do our best to calibrate and make sure every plate is valid in a competition like this.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly. I did have to know this for my test in Romania. I don't remember exactly what the range the variability is allowed to be, but it is a very, very small. It would be imperceptible to a human being lifting that plate. That's how close it needs to be.
It's all about standardization with us. It's about fairness in play, fairness in sport. That your standards at a local level are the exact same as they are at the world, and that's what the CPU strives to be. Our provincial affiliates of, again, same thing. The standards are increasing. They're trying to be as by the book as possible at all levels of competition. So you come to, a regionals like this, and everybody's still lifting to the same standard. You're not surprised by strict refereeing. Things are just by the book, and I think that's been an improvement over the last decade since I've been around.
Mark, again, whatever he had going on in his first attempt, he's cleaned it up. He's getting his start command nice and quick, really snappy. He's put a lot, 10 kilos from his opening attempt. So again, definitely have the strength there.
Fred Smith, 130 kilos coming up. He is also 5 for 5 for the day. Let's see how he goes.
This would tie his best bench press in competition.
So he still has room. Oh, sorry, I take that back. It's his third. It's always nice to tie what you've done, to be at your best, theoretically. If you've never done any more, you've never done any less. It's the best you can do. Let's keep the standard going and have that 9 for 9 day.
Kyler started off deadlifts really well there. Nice, speedy opening deadlift.
We'll have our juniors on the right side, our sub-juniors on the right on platform 2. They will beat the platform 1 crew done first, so we'll try and do our best to keep everything simultaneous, but we will focus back on platform 1 later. Now, Alex is 182.5. Now, traditionally and just generally speaking, the deadlift flies a lot faster than the bench. You have to do your safety heights, you do your bench heights on the uprights for the bench press. On deadlifts, you're just changing the plates, so things tend to go much faster. And in a competition like this, the spotters are so highly experienced, the loads are so fast. At a local meet, you need to have people being bossed around. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know kilo plates. They don't know the colors. They don't know the math. Here, these guys don't even need to talk to each other. They're already loaded before the athletes off the platform. It's already loaded for the next bar. The pace is very fast at regionals like this, especially with the experience and the capability of these volunteers.
When we're out there on the platform, we try and make it fun. We try and sort of joke around, and sometimes we'll make it a bit of a race from on one side. We'll be like, all right, are we going to beat our other side in loading? Because, it can be a long day when you're up there spotting and loading.
Oh, yes.
So you got to have the ability to make it fun. But, you'll see the same faces out there on those platforms, spotting and loading, day after day, session after session. Volunteers really are the foundation of this sport.
I'd like to give a shout out to our meet directors. They've awarded certain MVP volunteers, VIP volunteers that have been out there every single day, limited time branded hoodies for this event. Chantel's wearing one right now. I have one behind me. We're really happy to help out and come and do what we can to support these events. The Stins, the Fowlers, they have been such incredible supporters of all things CPU and all the provinces within the Western region and at large. So we thank them, and a very generous gift is to give your VIP volunteers a hoodie. I mention that because at least probably 4 or 5 people on the platform right now are getting those. The same people every day giving back, keeping the pace fast, keeping the athletes safe. Next to no missed loads this weekend. It's been incredible.
Court's third bench easily looked like his best.
And yet he missed the first.
What a beautiful way to finish the bench press for Court.
Now Dean Smith on platform 1. Cannon Kirkwood on platform 2. I wish I had a school name as Cannon. And it is a good lift, very fast, very smooth. As a spotter, when you see 210, 210, 210, it's a nice little break. All you got to do is tighten the collars. It's we talked about those token lifts. Sometimes somebody will go out there and do 75 kilos on a deadlift, and then the next guy's doing 225, and it's very exhausting to have to do that load. It is a workout. Spotters are the hardest working people of the day, every single day. And that's why we keep it fun. There are many roles to hold as a volunteer in this sport, but spotting and loading, the most challenging, but probably the most fun.
I don't know. I'm having quite a bit of fun with you on this live stream this morning, Matt.
Ever sweet. Thank you so much. Griffin John's there. Now, he got 3 yellow lights. He may have dropped it.
He did. Yeah, he couldn't quite get it locked out, couldn't get his shoulders back before it got out in front of him and pulled him forward. So they gave him, he just didn't complete the lift, or they would have said he beat the down command. Doesn't matter, just didn't get the lift. But it flew really fast. So here's hoping he'll just make that bit of a correction. His hands were very close. Sometimes it can cause the shoulders to be quite far forward and can make it tough to pull back. Hopefully he just makes that correction, comes out, gets himself a total on his second attempt.
I'm not sure what he trains with in the gym, but when you maybe you run into the Alico branded sticker and you all of a sudden have to wrap your fingers around that, you're not used to it. It can be slippery. It's you know, if you're one of those narrow pullers and you have to grip the Alico sticker or the smooth of the barbell, it can throw you off. Yeah, hopefully he can figure it out for his next. Darcy Morin on the left on platform 1.
Come on, Darcy.
Oh.
Make it happen on 1.
Something happened with his hands. They opened up. He didn't drop the bar. Maybe he had a pain. Maybe he just lost it.
But he stayed with the bar, and that's the important thing. He didn't dump it. He didn't, just let go of it and have the spotters take all that weight, which is really hard to handle when you're a spotter. You're counting on the lifter staying with the bar and helping you get it back into the rack safely.
And you couldn't necessarily see it on screen, but he did go up and thank all of the spotters for catching that for him. That's great to see. Good sportsmanship. John Keikos pulling up that deadlift. He's going for 210. It's the third of the 3 210s.
I think I just heard that this is an Alberta provincial record for Lloyd.
That is a big bench, 185. I believe that's what Austin said. Let's see how he does here. He gets a start command. And Lloyd is a big man, but he also has a narrower grip. Longer for the bar to travel. 2 white lights, it's a good lift. He's got big arms. Those arms are probably a big driver in his bench press for him.
Bars loaded for Ryan, 215 kilos. Take a break here on.
All right. Ryan Semke on platform 2.
All lifters.
215 loaded. And platform 1 is taking their deadlift break, so they'll be back in 10 minutes as the bars as the racks are moved from the platform. Ryan, we haven't talked about the technical rules of the deadlift. So what's a red card mean in the deadlift?
A red card means you haven't locked out. So you didn't get your shoulders in line or behind your hips. Maybe your knees were soft, so your knees do need to be locked out. Your hips need to be locked out, and you need to have your shoulders pulled back in line or behind your hips.
It's probably the most relaxing thing to referee, but as an athlete, it's the most tiring thing to do. Locking out is not always easy, especially at the end of a day when you're exhausted.
Most people don't actually train, all 3 lifts in one day in the gym. Now, I think that's becoming a little more common to see lifters doing that in training because of how fatiguing it can be. Your max deadlift might not be your max deadlift after your max squat and max bench press.
Absolutely. That's 3 white lights for that lifter. Now we're going back up to Bo Trung. Yes, we're going up to Bo. Bo is the leader in the 83s by a significant margin. He's having a heck of a day. He's got national records, 3 of them so far, I believe. At least 2.
He is opening at a PR deadlift. He
Amazing.
must have had a great training cycle. Maybe these PRs are old. I'm not sure. We don't have a date on them. Things are looking really good for him today.
Yes, they are. Now, just smoking it. It should be mentioned, not to downplay anybody else, or I'm not sure how old Bo is. He does look like he's probably an older teen, but there is a difference between being 14 and being 18.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And just like with our Masters lifters on Platform 1, when you're a Masters 2 and you're 50 and you're competing against 59-year-olds, there is definitely a significant advantage to probably for being younger. And all of a sudden you go from being the weaker 59-year-old to the stronger 60-year-old. It is a difference. It's a variable. There's a lot of variables in powerlifting, and age is just another one of them.
So maybe have a little bit of blood on the bar.
I know Noah there's been out there every single session probably. I know
Very close.
he got a special request to be on the platform today, and he showed up, and here he is, session 1, platform 2, leading the crew and being the cleaner.
Noah competed on Thursday as well in equipped division, and he has stepped up almost every session since, doing some type of work to help run this meet.
Absolutely.
We joke Noah is the reason that Nationals happened in 2020.
I don't want to talk about it. I do actually. Just a tiny bit of backstory for our viewers. I helped co-direct Nationals 2020 in Winnipeg. Our shipment of our brand new equipment was at the Port of Montreal for about a month, so it didn't get there in time. So the same crew here, the Fowlers and the Stins that are running our event today, we reached out looking for equipment. They were able to supply us with a full, I don't know, 4 or 5 racks worth of equipment and all the weights, and you know, it was amazing. But what would happen? On their way out, they ended up in a ditch with the trailer. The trailer was almost, might have been toast. I can't recall the full story. I wasn't there, but Noah was the one with the trade skills to be able to rig it all together and keep them going on their way, and saved the event for the second time. First, we had the shipment in Montreal, and second, we had the ditch. So, you know, competitions in the winter in Canada, it's never great to drive on those highways, but you know, the Stins, the Fowlers, and the Noahs of the world, they really keep us going.
I don't think I've ever seen a volunteer get a standing ovation at a banquet for changing tires.
Yes.
Noah is the first.
He's truly a savior. And look at him go today. Athlete, mechanic, jack of all trades.
We're off to a really good start in the deadlifts.
Yes, we are. So, just going to fix my screen here for us. 207.5 coming up twice in a row here for Bryce and Jasper. Bryce will be first. Now, when Bryce and Jasper, they're in the same weight class, why is Bryce going before Jasper when they have the same weight?
That'll be down to lot number. And so randomly assigned, Bryce's lot number is 4, Jasper's is 6. So what it comes down to is when you got the same attempt, the lifter with the lower lot number pulls first. They are generally just randomly assigned by chance, because sometimes what it comes down to is who has the advantage down to that last deadlift. The lot number can be an advantage. So, you know, we don't give them to people. You don't have any favoritism. We make sure that you get what you get, so that it's always fair, that nobody gets an intentional advantage over another.
Generally in 2024, we'll use like a random number generator, copy and paste on a computer into a spreadsheet, and that's how we do it generally. But if you want to go all the way back and buy the book, they are putting numbers in a hat and drawing them. I think we should bring that back.
I'm
it's
all
more
about
dramatic.
numbers in a hat.
We should record it, live stream it. We could commentate on it. It would be great. Nationals 2025. We'll do a live stream of the lot numbers. What do you think, Chantel?
Sounds great. I bet the Stins and Fowlers will be all about that.
So Jasper, he's doing the double overhand hook grip sumo deadlift, as Gino, our other announcer, would like to inform you. That means he's hooking his thumbs under his index fingers to really trap it under there like a hook. That's why they call it the hook grip deadlift. We see that, or otherwise we'll try and see a cross grip where one hand is pronated, one hand is supinated, another way to really try and stabilize the deadlift in your hands. If you're doing a normal overhand, double overhand grip, you're just not going to be able to hold as much. But it's just physics. It is going to fall from your hand when you're at that max grip. Nobody does that. It is what it is. So the hook grip, do you use the hook grip, Chantel?
I do. I'm too much of a wuss to use a hook grip. I think I pulled hook grip with about 100 kilos once. My thumbs hurt too bad, and that was the last time I ever did it.
People that do it are very brave. I've tried. It's a mixture of, I too am a wuss, and look at that. That thumb is not long enough to do it properly. Now,
Here's hoping he can pull his shoulders back on this one.
Griffin had trouble on his first with that narrow grip, but he did it. He did it. That's impressive.
I'm glad he got that. It's hard to see from our angle whether, in the camera, right? We're not right there, whether he gets those shoulders back. But he got it. He's on the board. That's really what matters. He's going to walk away with a total at Westerns.
It's unclear if he's going to stay with that for his whole career, but it is always easier if you got the narrow grip to just pull it out a few inches, and you'll just organically settle your shoulders back, and you probably won't lose your grip on the smooth. Anyway, Cannon, super name, Cannon Kirkwood, 217.5.
Looked hard, but looked strong.
Yes, 3 white lights. Now, we've seen people full of chalk on the bench and the squat. Now, Cannon wasn't a great example of it, but we've seen a lot of powder out there. What's the difference in the deadlifts?
So there's only so many substances that are permitted on the body when you are on the platform. Baby powder is one of them. So sometimes you'll see lifters will put baby powder on their legs. Here's a good example here. Zia has quite a bit of baby powder on his legs. What happens is you're not allowed to hitch. You're not allowed to have any downward motion. You can't support the bar on your legs. So what baby powder does is it allows for the bar to slide up and not get stuck on your skin. But what you don't want to do is have them chalky hands touching those baby powder legs, because if you've never accidentally grabbed a bar with baby powder does the opposite of chalk.
Yes, it does. I've also seen in local meets, people, they're new, they don't know what's going on. They'll grab chalk and put it all over their thighs and socks because that's what they think the cool kids are doing. Meanwhile, they're just basically stopping the bar in its tracks on their way up, and they're not getting their lifts. So, also the socks. Why are the socks higher? They're not like that on the squats and the bench.
So one of the things in the deadlift is you are actually required to have knee-high socks. So when we do equipment check before our weigh-ins, so equipment check is when lifters come in and they have all of the stuff that they're going to wear on a platform inspected by the referees to make sure that it's approved and that they have all of the necessary things that are required for the platform. One of the things that is required is a sock that covers the shin. As you see Noah out there with bleach, blood unfortunately does sometimes happen. The knurling on those bars is sharp. Sometimes calluses come open, and the knee or the shin covering with the socks will prevent generally the knurling on the bar cutting the skin open on the shins.
As a semi-professional retired powerlifter myself, I have not done a deadlift in a number of years, and my shins are just scarred from the amount of times I was ignorant and didn't cover my shins in the gym and started bleeding. So it is a great protective factor out there for athletes.
And obviously we want to keep it all safe for everybody, right? Could you imagine if every second lifter was bleeding?
And that's not to say what people are, they have medical issues. They could have any number of diseases that could be blood transfusible, right? So if we do not want to be sharing diseases. Nobody wants to touch another person's blood. So having eyes out there and bleached and able to disinfect the bar on the spot is great. And it's good that our spotters are catching it as well. And we did see Noah, he was taking a chalk block there after the bleach, because, bleach and water, it can really, just like baby powder, it can kind of make the bar slippery. So by chalking it up again, it kind of neutralizes the slip factor. No lubrication.
Nice. That looked like a speedy deadlift for John.
Very speedy, very speedy. He's confident. And now up to 265 for Turner Renard. He will bring himself up to a 567.5. Now, what's interesting about this flight is that, now we'll see if Turner gets this. If he doesn't, it'll be probably a little bit more competitive.
Bar is loaded.
I'm going to pull up our full screen here. Now, in order to get first, second, and third place, it comes down to the total. So how does that come into play in the deadlifts?
So these guys for their third deadlifts, if they are looking at podium spots or look like they might be within reach, they're going to start fighting for those spots. Now, you might see people starting to protect their position as well. So you might see smaller jumps in the third saying, hey, you know what? I've solidly got a gold medal here. I've solidly got a silver medal. I'm way out of reach to maybe shoot for that gold medal if I'm sitting in the silver. But, bronze medal could come at me and try and knock me off of that silver medal position. So maybe they'll protect that. The coaches become really critical down to the third deadlift, because they do have two changes, to the third deadlift. So we will probably see some last minute changes. It's possible. Depends how close things get when we get the third deadlifts down.
Yeah, and it looks like Botrung, he's going for a national record here. He's going to take the gold medal in this. It's unrealistic for anybody to take it from him. But there might be a battle for second or third looking at the projected totals. So we'll see how Bo does. Big national record attempt for him here. It might be for the total, might be for the deadlift, might be for both.
That looked really easy for a national record.
Hey, nothing but a peanut. 3 white lights. Bo is having the competition of his life today. One miss so far in his third bench, otherwise just doing great. We're Debellard is third lifter in the deadlifts on platform 1. You'll see platform 2 is going to slow down a bit because on the third round of deadlifts they have to clean the bar every single time.
Yeah, just like baby powder on the bar, if too much chalk gets packed into that knurling, it can kind of have the opposite effect of having chalk on your hands. So you start to get some slipping. So we want to make sure that when it comes down to that third deadlift, when it comes down to placements, the bar is set and perfect as we can get it for every single lifter. We want to make sure nobody has an unfair advantage.
And if you just saw that, Chris Arnold, he's been doing this a while, above and beyond, giving a slap of the platform. Sometimes if there's enough powders, be it baby powder or chalk, baby powder being the real offender on the platform, people, especially in the sumo, their feet can slide. And if you're used to ideal conditions, maybe you're on a rubber floor at home or in the gym, and your feet have never slid, you may come into a place like this with a platform where there might be baby powder or other variables. Unused to that condition, you know, oftentimes with a lot of deadlifts on the same platform throughout the week, there can be divots. So what might be another inch lower even sometimes on what you're used to. So, you know, sort of the more experienced lifters may move where their bar is at on the platform. They may request for it to be in a different position. Lots of factors. Essentially, sometimes you are doing deficit deadlifts for all intents and purposes when your plywood platforms have been beaten up all week.
Yeah, we do our best to make these platforms as invincible as they can be. You guys can see the kinds of weights that we're putting on this bar, and they can come down with some force, right? Sometimes, you know, we fail a deadlift and it gets dropped from the top, and not really much can stand up to those weights when it's dropped on them. We try to keep them in good order. We might try and change things out if they get really bad through the week. Mostly we just try and move the bar around and make sure that it's equal and fair for everybody.
We talk about training with pauses. It's not a bad idea in the bench press. Not a bad idea to train with deficits in the gym to be prepared for. You never know meet day. You never know what you're going to be walking into. But yeah, thus far, all green lifts or all white lifts. 3 for 3 for. 3.
It's morning.
I need a break.
we haven't quite had enough coffee yet today, I think.
It's early. All good lifts on platform 1 thus far for their first round of deadlifts.
Janique's come all the way from Cold Lake. I knew she was from Alberta. I know Janique. I did not know she was from Cold Lake.
Now, where's Cold Lake? Why isn't it warm?
It is up northern Alberta, and I think it is exactly how it sounds. Cold. Wow. Cold Lake is a fairly big Air Force base, and so she used to be Air Force, so she's retired from the Air Force.
Oh, wow. Jasper got screamed at, and he got it. I think he asked for a little encouragement. I think my ears blew through the headphones we're wearing. Good, very, very excited announcing today. So we have 220 coming on platform 2, 120 for Dusty Deer on platform 1. Now Dusty, again, he skipped his third bench, maybe to conserve his energy. An interesting jump from 35 to 50 on his bench and then a scratch. He did get both, and 120 successful. Dusty has the total. Anybody that has got a successful deadlift thus has a total so far. After Nicole, Brendan, and Garvin go, we'll see if everybody on platform 1 in this flight does receive a total. If you get a total, you've essentially won the day against yourself.
Yeah, PRs are nice. National records are nice, but you know, you really want to be able to walk away and say, you know what, I showed up at Westerns at one of the biggest meets, the biggest Western Canadians we've ever had, and I put a total on my day at the highest level of refereeing we have in the country.
Now I've seen, let's see what Bryce does here. Another successful deadlift for Bryce, I think. He really turned his day around. So you can be seated. So especially at the bigger competitions, they do the research and they say, who is the strongest person in the past heading into this competition? You know, if there's 14 lifters in the group, 11 in this case for the 83s, who's seated the highest? So you might come in at 8, 9, or 10, but variables happen. People have bad days. They don't make weight. They get injured. They drop out. They miss. They bomb. It doesn't matter how you come in, it's how you finish. And that's what makes powerlifting interesting. You go 9 for 9 and you were a middle of the pack lifter, you could still come out with the gold medal. Just because you're elite, just because you're the best in the country in the past, doesn't mean you're the best in the country that day.
You still have to show up and put lifts on the board.
Get those hips through.
Now Griffin, long at the top. Referees want to make sure he was locked out. He was. 3 white lights. Showing some sportsmanship there, shaking the hands of our head officials.
He came back after that opening deadlift miss and actually turned things around and ended up with a probably a nice day there.
That he did.
We have an attempt change.
So there might have been a computer error. It looks like we're doing 22 kilograms for one of our lifters on platform 3. They're going to press enter again and figure it out. Now on the third deadlift, as you said, there can be a temp change. Can you explain that a little bit again?
So in the third deadlift, because people will be vying for positions, trying to get themselves onto the podium, there are a maximum of 2 attempt changes that can go in. Now there are some rules around what attempt change can go in and what that looks like. Now you need to get it in before the bar is called loaded. It still has to be an ascending bar. So you cannot go below the attempt that was on the bar. And so you still need to be able to go in order. And then sometimes it comes down to lot number. That's pretty complex. But one of the things we need to really pay attention to is you can get an attempt change in. You have 2 attempt changes. Always has to be an ascending bar.
It's always fun when powerlifting becomes a competitive sport because oftentimes at local meets you're competing against yourself. That was a good attempt, but it slid out of his hands, unfortunately. Missing the 225. Ryan Semke got 235 loaded for himself on platform 2. Platform 1, another successful lift for Henrietta. Going up to 110 for Emmy and Deb Allard back to back. And then we'll have a record attempt from Marnell Spencer. Always exciting. 235 for Ryan Semke. There's just 5 more deadlifts left in Flight A on platform 2.
Looks like he's fairly solidly in his position, sitting 6th. Again, a very stacked weight class, and so nothing to be ashamed of, being able to show up, put up a total, and finish in the middle of the pack in a big stacked weight class at Western Nationals.
Western Nationals 2024. It's a big one. And we have 3 white lights for Emmy Garzito. Deb Allard will take the same weight. Ryan Semke. That's a good example of what a blue card might be. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah, that is what they gave him. So they said that he's supported or hitched in some way. So you can lean back, but you can't let the bar look like it is supported on your legs. As soon as you look like that, you're going to get a 2 card from the referees.
And they called him for that. Yeah, so see what Deb did? So she got 1 for lockout. Now, what does that mean again? We talked about it earlier, but just what might have happened there with Deb?
So it just maybe looked like she didn't have her shoulders fully back. Maybe her hips weren't totally locked out. She wasn't standing totally erect. Maybe her knees were a little bit soft. Just watching it from the front, I could see that maybe she got that from the head referee. Again, they have 3 different angles. That looked like a nice smooth deadlift.
That was perfect. A good third attempt for Zayazia.
Looked like some good number calling for him as well. It was a nice, looked like it was pretty close to his top end. He had a 9 for 9 day.
Amazing. We have 2 others in this session that in this flight that had 9 for 9 days.
All right, we have 114.5 on the bar here for Marnell. We're going for a record attempt.
Marnell also pulls from the Alico sticker. She had troubles with that in her clip session. Let's see how she does today. Very smooth. And it's down. 3 white lights, another national record for Marnell Spencer. Unstoppable. Robot, as Chantel will say.
I'm not sure what Marnell's doing, but whatever she's doing as an M3, I need to start doing as an M1 so I can be in this sport as long as she is and maybe still breaking some records.
They see the juniors in some of the opens that lift 100 times a week, and they're hurt, and they're 22 years old, and they're never going to lift again. But like myself, I was done. I couldn't squat again after I was 26. I went too hard too early. The goal is not to be the best now. In my opinion, is to be able to be an M4 one day.
Come on, John. Come on, John. Little bit of a bottom at the top.
Priorities are different from all people. In hindsight, it's 2020. 2-1. That's a good lift for John on platform 2.
John also went 9 for 9 today.
Amazing, amazing work.
281 kilos, a new national record attempt for Turner on platform 2, 619.5 pounds. Sydney looking for 120 on platform 1.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, as we saw before, Bo, 280.5 earlier. Now he's going to 281. Turner Renard is going for 281. So he'll be chipping the chipped record from the last lifter, Bo Trong, in the second round. Record on record, you know, 2 different records in the same session from 2 different people. It's impressive stuff. Our 83 sub-juniors are going a long way at Western Nationals. And that said, there's another regionals next week in the East.
He's pulling, looking strong, Janine. Keep it going, Janine. Let's go!
That was a nice fight from Janine. Wow.
Excellent grind.
And it's a good lift.
It can be slow, but it went up. It did not stop.
And Turner's going for that national record. His goal is to get himself on Team Canada for Sub-Junior Worlds.
Platform 2, Ryan Crowley, platform 2, stable, please.
And he is in second place right now.
Nicole, 1.25 on
Again,
platform 1.
Bo has 102.5 kilos on him right now. It's not likely it'll happen, but hey, maybe Bo can't go to Worlds.
Let's go!
Unfortunately, that national record wasn't there for him.
And you know, he said it's his goal for today, but it may even just be a big picture goal. Maybe Turner's big picture goal is to be able to get himself on a Worlds team, even if it's not this year. Maybe it is. We never know. We can sometimes send 2 people in one weight class if the team isn't full. You know, being a young person, having to travel the world, money can be hard to come by. School vacation doesn't always work out. So, you know, I would say I hope you apply anyway, Turner, and see where the chips may fall.
Various variables in the world of powerlifting. Bo Trong, I was wondering to see if he was going to do an attempt change.
You know what, I mean, he might just want to chip that national record even further.
He went up 5. No, 5.5.
I don't think this will be a problem for him.
Interesting choice of weight. I think he's going to do it.
I think so. I don't know where his limit is in the deadlift, but I don't think we saw it on his second.
Yeah, I think his coach must have some super specific calculations to go up 5.5. Let's see what they say.
I don't think there was downward on that.
3 white lights, the judges agree.
He got a little stuck, but he held it and pulled it through his hips.
Now, Bo is a sub-junior, means he's under 19 years old. He got a 97 GL point total, I believe.
Oh, man.
When you get to 100, that's internationally elite for an open lifter.
He's just a kid.
He's just a kid, and he hit 97 GL points. That is beyond impressive. That is almost unthinkable. Good job, Bo. Now, Brenda Billings up on platform 1. 142.5 kilos. She's M3. She's 60-plus years old. And she got a good second attempt. Garvin Cole's the top deadlifter for the 93s for the entire Flight A, and he's up next.
So far, I think everybody in this session has a total.
Yes? We'll see what the Flight B people do.
I hope I didn't jinx anyone.
Well, Ben's up next. This could be Ben bombing. Hopefully not. 190 for him. Garvin Cole, our biggest deadlifter of Flight A on the left side of our screen. Should they both be going simultaneously? There they are.
Very similar stances, similar shoes. Looks like it was meant to be.
Now that is
That was
a good
a
lift.
great deadlift.
Bit of a technical difficulty on our display on the right side. We'll figure it out and get back to you. On the left, Garvin, very controlled. 3 white lights. 3 white lights, that's a good lift. Henriette up left on the left on platform 1. On platform 2, Ken Morris, 202.5.
There's only one command in the deadlift. So just the chief referee will lift their hand. There's no required starting position, unlike the squat and the bench press. So a lifter is going to approach the bar, and in 1 minute, they will make a bona fide attempt to pull that bar, and they will wait for the chief referee to drop their hand and give them a down command.
I see on platform 2, earlier on our third attempts, there was essentially a dish scrubbing wire brush. On platform 1, Jeff Budd is using a paint scraping wire brush. Anything that gets the powders off the bar. Ken Morris up very quickly. It's our opening round, so these attempts are going to be a little bit easier than their thirds. 210 for Kaylin coming up. Ken was good at 202.5. And our screen's back for our viewers at home. The responsibility is lifted for us. Deb Allard going for a third, 115 kilos. Once you learn kilo math, you know that a 50 and a 65 ending is always going to be a blue. I advise, beyond reading the rules, you learn what kilo plates look like, everybody listening. When you've done enough sessions on a platform, it'll be second nature, but until then, you're going to be looking at that. If you train in pounds and not knowing what's going on can be a deficit to you in your competition. Kaylin, looks like a successful lift. Left judge needs to give their entry. Yep, 3 white lights. Deb was, I believe she had a lockout issue, 2-1. She got it though. 1 red light in the middle. Memory's improving throughout the day here. I think we're waking up. And Deb.
Come on, Deb, fight for it.
That was a good fight.
That might be the most crisscross deadlift I've ever seen. Not necessarily a bad lift. 3 white lights.
There we go. Again, doesn't have to be pretty if it is technically within the rules.
I'm replaying that back in my head. I think she did 5 zigzags there. That was wild. I've never seen that before. Good job, Deb. 212.5 for platform 2. Kyle Johnson.
That bar path was a little more efficient.
Now Marnell's doing 118.5 kilos, obviously a national record for her. This is about her 6,000th record this week, and we'll see how she does with it. Marnell wearing that Team Canada SBD apparel for her World Championships in the past. It's a privilege to be wearing the Team Canada outfit. And she's ready.
Marnell trains down in Weyburn. She's with the Olympia In-Depth Performance crew, so one of our sponsors. I believe Marnell may manage or work at the gym.
Amazing.
And there she is.
3 white lights. She earns every single light she gets. On the right side, on platform 2, we're loading up to 250 kilos. For the pound people out there, it's 551. So going above that, mid-hundreds thing in pounds is always an exciting thing for our lifters, especially the sub-juniors. Owen has done 6 for 6. Let's see if he can get his first deadlift and secure a total. And Emmy Garzito on platform 1, M38 unequipped 69 from BC. Both are going down at roughly the same time. I love it when they sync up.
Looks like Emmy is pulling a personal best here. It's a little bit too heavy today.
Not there for her. 3 reds for her, 3 whites for Owen. And again, platform 1's on their 3rd, so it's going to be a little bit tricky on average for them versus everybody on their opening attempt on the right.
So Janique's gone up just 1 kilo. Obviously a national record attempt here. I actually think that was a good call. Janique really had to fight to pull 120. But let's hope she gets just enough behind her. 1 kilo is not a lot of weight, but it can feel like a ton of weight.
Absolutely.
When it puts you over the edge. But let's see if she can pull out this record.
Come on, Janique.
They're even doing the same thing with their arms. Amazing. All stars are aligning. Riley Bresky, very easy opener. Just not there for her today.
Like I said, 1 kilo can feel like a million kilos if it's too much today.
When you talk about recovery modalities, sometimes people like their ice baths. I think Janique's going to go jump in Cold Lake and come back next time. That was a reach. Tate Commandeur on the right on platform 2, opening with 267.5, our highest opening attempt for the 105 class. I know Riley Bresky, he's in the 93. He did break the national record about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It could have been a month. Time is a relative subject when you're in the 17th session of the week here today. But he will hope to break his national record, he told me before the session as well, in the 93 sub-junior class. Tate is our 105 leader. We have...
It's got a fairly, again, commanding lead, I think, at this point. That one was intentional. That one, yeah.
You live, you learn. There's 5 different weight classes on platform 2 in this specific session.
Kelly had a good lift.
Let's see what happens with Tate. Bit of a struggle at the top, but he did get it. So yeah, on to our second deadlift on Flight B Platform 2. Everybody got a successful first lift. Always nice to see that. Everybody's heading into their seconds confidently. Platform 1, thirds, Flight A, 137.5 for Nicole Carrier. She has a 305 total, looking to bump that up another 5 to 310.
Let's go, Jake.
Jake on the right, Jake Rushton. First lifter in round 2 of Flight B deadlifts.
This be a PR deadlift for Nicole, so let's see if she can put all her effort in and pull it out today.
Oh, that doesn't look like a third. Amazing.
Didn't look like a 5 kilo PR, did it?
Nothing, so there you go.
2 to 1, it's a good lift.
Amazing. 202.5 for Ben on the right, on platform 2. He'll get going faster than Brenda. Brenda gets a bar clean in the third, so Ben to fader, 202.5.
Let's just say this is a very significant personal best for Ben. He has blown his personal best deadlift out of the water already.
Those teenage hormones. And he gets the down command quite quickly. 3 white lights. That's a good lift. Great job, Ben. Ken Morris, 217.5. Had a rough start to the day. He missed his second and third squats, but he's gone 3 for 3 on the bench, and he's got a successful opening deadlift. We'll see how he does on his second. Brenda from Manitoba, very controlled. I think that was the perfect weight for her third deadlift. See what the referees say. 3 white lights. Good job, Brenda.
Excellent. She leaned back, but didn't get any support on those legs, so that's perfect.
We haven't really talked about the support of the friends and the families and the coaches behind the scenes. What, I see that. I know Brenda's coach came all the way from Manitoba just to coach her today. What does that mean to the lifters to have various support networks?
I think that it's pretty important when you think about powerlifting. We say it's an independent or an individual sport, but it really is a team sport. It can feel pretty grindy showing up to the gym day in and day out, not much changing. Sometimes you need a spotter. I know in equipped lifting, we definitely can't do it alone. And so just being able to have your family say, yeah, you know what, one more day you can go to the gym. Yes, I'll show up today and spot your bench press or keep you safe on the squat, maybe help you load bars. Some families put gyms in their house to be able to make sure that their family member can do what's necessary. It's a big deal. And then to have somebody travel with you, show up here on meet day, be your support, it's really nice.
It is, they say it's a solo sport, it's a team sport, it's a support sport. Again, it's very inclusive. You just look around the room here, not seeing it on the camera on the live stream, but I don't know, looking at least probably 200 people in the room right now. It's incredible spectator sport too, more and more. In the last few years we've introduced music, and it's helped keeping the energy alive throughout the day. There was never really music in the rooms prior to, I don't know, let's say 5-6 years ago.
We had to turn it down when the lifter came out. Do you remember that?
Sure do. Technically had to stop it, I think. Now the jury controls the volume. Our jury's okay with this level of volume today. It's on the platform, it keeps you lively, it keeps you going. It's we've been having a lot of house EDM music. It's not what people may listen to at home, but it is definitely keeping the energy high in the gym or in the venue here today. No lift for Garvin, unfortunately.
Well, EDM is nice because at the end of the day, we are a family sport. We are family friendly, and a lot of people might listen to music in the gym that would not be considered family friendly. So it's not always the music you're going to listen to in the gym, but it is the music that the children can listen to. And our goal is to keep the energy up, and I think we're doing that just fine around here today.
We might be used to, adult events, adult-only things that we do in our lives, but you have to remember, youth and sub-juniors, 9-year-olds are not probably always listening to maybe the sort of gangster rap that might have a lot of swears in some of our headphones. So keeping it family-friendly for the broadcast, for the people in the audience, it's important.
I think that's a 2.5 kilo PR for Kyle.
Good job, Kyle.
Let's see what he gets. That would be it. Good work.
And Owen, going up 17.5 kilos. That's a decent jump for him. Kyle went up 20. Our sub-juniors are not afraid to make big leaps here. Now, let's see here. On the left, we have Brian Tufeld, for those at home. That is 180 kilos. A little bit of a display issue as well there. We'll get it back. He's up. That was very, very quick for a second. Oh, opener, sorry. We're on the first round of deads for Flight B here.
Yeah, he's definitely got lots left in that. That opener looked really solid. Definitely has more to put on that bar. See where he can end up with his third.
267.5 for Owen. He got 2-1.
It's a good lift.
Reminder for the blue card. What is the blue card again?
So the blue card will be generally up and down on the bar, hitching, something to that effect. So that referee maybe saw some up and down on that bar, maybe thought that he supported on his legs or hitched it a little bit on the way up. So the bar does have to come up in one fluid motion.
Advice for anybody listening: learn the rules, learn the foul. That way you're not arguing with the jury and missing your next attempt if it's a very obvious card. It's an unfortunate thing that coaches may be distracted, go and ask what the card was for when it might have been quite obvious, and they'll go argue with the jury, and next thing you know, they've missed their next lifter's attempt, and they have to take it again, or they have to go up a number they didn't intend to do. So
yeah, so if every coach or every lifter has 1 minute to get their next attempt in from the time that the lights are shown, and so what happens if you don't get your next attempt in that minute, the table will turn that away. And so if you are successful, you will automatically bump up 2.5 kilos. You may have way more than 2.5 kilos in you, and that could change your projected total or your plan for the day. If you missed the attempt, the table will automatically put you up. They will repeat the weight automatically. I don't know if his grip gave or if something maybe pulled. I don't know. I hope he's okay.
It was a quick drop either way.
Yeah.
Unclear.
I mean, he's on the board. He's got a total. He's got a very good lead.
Yeah. It seems like Riley and Tate, respectively, have their classes locked down. We'll see. Mark on platform 1 going for his opening attempt. He is taking 197.5, and it's very smooth. Mark very controlled on the way up, very controlled on the way down. Riley, oh my goodness.
One of the things that's really important that might be different than being in a gym or being in other strength sports or other, lifting-based sports. In powerlifting, you are not allowed to drop the weight from the top. In fact, you must keep your hands on the bar all the way to the floor. You can put it down forcefully, but your hands need to stay on that bar. And if you do not, you will get a yellow card or a 3 card from the referees. It will be a failed attempt.
Yeah, it's been a contentious issue over the years too, because all you have to do technically is put that bar down with your hands on it. Some referees get upset when it's put down forcefully, but technically speaking, all you have to do is control the weight with a hand. But people get excited. They break their all-time records. They're in the gym. They might toss that bar down because they're allowed to, or they use bumper plates or something. You have to control it on the way down, excited or not. Otherwise, sadly, you'll lose a very, very perfect lift.
And again, as you can see, Benjamin there, he didn't go down slowly. He didn't have any effort in putting that down, but he did keep his hands on the bar, and technically that's within the rules.
212.5 for Jake. Lewis on platform 1, 200 even.
Lewis is known for his deadlift.
Lewis, I've seen in the past faint, vomit. For me, watching Lewis deadlift, it's all about just walking away unscathed. So hopefully he does his best here today. Hopefully the body's cooperating, and we have a safe pull. Jake, big grind, just not passing those knees, unfortunately.
Lots of fight in that kid, just not today.
212.5 just didn't fly. Now, Kenneth Morris, 227.5. Again, for the pounders out there, that's the magical 500-plus deadlift. It's a big milestone in every career. It tends to be for those lifting in the gym. So we'll see if Ken can pull it off in his third. Chris Arnold, SPA legend. You probably know him better than me, but Chris has been around forever, and he's a very good bar cleaner.
He's another one who see him volunteering at a lot of events. He served as vice president for the SPA for a lot of years. He's been involved in a lot of aspects of this sport.
One of those unsung heroes. Fred Smith, very easy pull, it appears to be. Good opener for him. Ken Morris, as we said, that 227.5 about to fly. Let's see.
Nice and patient to pull to lockout.
It was the right call, I think, for a weight, and he gets that milestone. He's very happy. Now, Kalen up here, trying to be our first 9 for 9 on platform 2, flight B. He's going for 235 kilos, bringing his total up to theoretically 590.
Looks like Court might be opening at a personal best for him.
Bars loaded for Kalen.
So maybe he's had a really good training cycle. Things are moving well.
Come on, Court.
Yep. So Court, he had that shaky start with his bench press, but you know, it's been really nice to see him come back and pull himself together. This is a really impressive finish he's putting together. 220 for Lloyd coming up. Lloyd's having a fantastic day. Kalen, and that's 9 for 9 for Kalen. I don't want to speak too soon. 3 white lights. Great job. Excellent lifting for Kalen. That's got to, you know, we talk about the lifting in the moment, but walking away from a competition going 9 for 9, that is going to set his future up very well, confidence-wise. Tennyson Webb's going for 237.5 as they clean the bar.
He's in the bronze medal position in his weight class at this point. I don't think that this changes anything. I think he has it on body weight at this point. So even if he were to miss this lift, I think he's got the bronze medal regardless.
Sure does.
Same total as the person in 4th, but he's the lighter body weight lifter. So he gets the bronze medal regardless. So this will just be a nice addition for him.
Yeah, it's sometimes one of those calls with, he got it regardless. It's one of those calls where maybe Ben's coach, who knows, Benjamin DeFader, they were tying for 4th and 3rd, I believe, originally. It's good coaching calls on the numbers. In the case of a tie, it goes by body weight. Lot numbers, how we decide who goes first. And if both of those things are the same at the end of the day, if your body weight is the exact same, which has happened, and your weight loaded, weight finished within your total is the exact same, it's happened. Who does it first does win. So that's one of the rare times lower lot number does have an advantage when you're trying to get the final total. Very rare, though.
It is pretty rare, especially when we're measuring body weight to this accuracy, but I have seen it.
To the .01s. So Kyle Johnson, 237.5. Tim is our last deadlifter on platform 1. He's going for 245. Probably pull at the exact same time. Oh, Tim beats him just a little bit. Very easy opener for Tim.
Come on, Kyle. Let's go, Kyle.
Looking strong for Tim.
Now
That
Kyle,
was a nice.
Oh, so close for Kyle.
That hurts me too, Kyle.
Tanner is an empathetic announcer.
Such a good fight for Kyle. Just lost that grip at the top, but again, solid in the silver medal position. I think I don't see the numbers exactly, but I think he wasn't pulling for the gold there anyway. Just would have been a nice cap on his day.
Yeah, he's in second place ended up with 575. Riley is at 627. So yeah, it's not realistic for him to have pulled for first, but he had a good end to his day, regardless if he got it or not. Tate missed a second at 280. Let's see how he does on his third. Will it be redemption? Brian, second attempt, easy second, I think, for him. Oh, he did get 1 red light for the lockout.
So Tate, something happened with Tate. Remember, he started to pull.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I hope that he's all right and that he's able to come out for his third. If he doesn't come out, it's that he's timing out. He's put the attempt in to give Owen and Riley the amount of rest that they were anticipating. It's not necessary, but it is a small flight, so it is a courtesy move.
Now, David on this side of the field, he has himself a national record attempt going.
All right, let's see if he can get nice and tight and pull that all the way to lockout.
Come on, Dave.
Looked good from my view.
I think so. 3 white
There
lights.
we go.
Oh, he's so excited. David's a big jumper when he's happy. Now Tate, I believe Tate's just timing out. He had, as we said, some kind of issue, so he's allowing his competitors, Owen and Riley, to just get a little bit of longer rest time. They're both going for potential national records. Owen for sure is. 288 is going to be loaded for him. Gives the spotters a little bit of a break at the end of their day too.
And Tate had nothing to lose. I mean, actually, you know, not coming out, if he had a bit of an injury or something happen, live to lift another day is something I've heard a wise master lifter say. And he had the gold medal locked up anyway.
That wise lifter isn't yourself, is it?
It is not. Happens to be somebody I'm related to.
Ah, yes. Everybody in Moose Jaw is related. 288 for Owen, national record. The jury provides the .25 chips to the head ref through the chief spotter, puts it on the bar.
Let's go, Owen. Make some noise for this.
All right, let's see if Owen can put a national record at the end of a 9 for 9 day. This would allow him to go 9 for 9 as well. Would be a fantastic day.
These kids.
These kids these days, hey Matt? Saying it in the good way.
Come on, Owen. Let's go. Let's see it.
It's not there,
Not there.
fortunately.
But you know what? I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to know that it's even within your wheelhouse to put on the bar.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Because, you know, that was a big jump from his second, but not unrealistic.
And yes, Riley is a 93 sub-junior. I know he has the national record. It's 300 kilos loaded on the bar right now. Sub-junior doing 660 at a body weight of sub 230 pounds for those listening in the Imperial system. Absolutely massive. That's a double body weights.
I don't think I want to talk about these kids anymore. That is incredible.
Way more than double body weight. My bad. That's bad math. Nearly triple. Mark, on the other hand, here is M360 plus years old. Jokes about his age. He's going to go.
Let's go, Riley.
The place is live for our last deadlifter of session 2, platform 2, flight B.
Riley came back. He had a tough start to the day, missing his first 2 squats on depth. This would be a great finish.
Oh, so close.
Couldn't quite get it to lock out before it came out of his hands.
It's okay. He'll be back for nationals.
That's still a really, really great day for him, and way to turn it around. That's hard to do, and he did it.
Now, for people like Owen and Tate and Riley there, they get the first place here. What might be a little bit different this year compared to the other years is that they have the 2 other regionals to compete with for the world spots, right? So there is Easterns a week from now, and there could be, you know, a sub-junior in those weight classes that do out-total them and get the world spot. So interesting, unique year for the CPU and their scheduling. We'll see how these athletes do if they are going to Worlds or not.
Yeah, you know, whether they get a world spot or not, I think that we need to remember that this is the biggest Western Canadian Championships we've ever seen. And so being able to walk away with a medal at this Western Canadians is a really, really nice accomplishment. If you happen to get a spot on Team Canada and you're able to go, that's just the cherry on top.
Absolutely. I think definitely my first Westerns in Moose Jaw was 2015. I attended, I don't know if it was this building. It was in and around this area. It might have been the other building. Anyways, to see how many lifters they had that one, what was it, 100 lifters maybe? I'm not sure. Maybe 2 days, maybe 1 day. To be here 4 full days, 3 sessions a day. Absolutely amazing growth in the sport over 9 years.
Yeah, talk about your first Westerns. My very first Westerns was 2008 here in this building in Moose Jaw. Yeah, I think it was maybe 2 sessions, definitely 2 flights. It is I can't say it enough. The sport has grown so much.
That would have been before Ontario was separated, no? Would it have just been Westerns and Easterns back then with 2 flights?
It was just Westerns and Easterns back then. Yeah, Centrals just became a thing
recently.
Only a few years ago, yeah.
So 2 flights, 2008, and that's half the country without Ontario. It's the majority province now. Absolutely wild to see the growth. Well, Fred Smith up here, second deadlift, 227.5. He's having a good day. We are all done on platform 2. bar is loaded to no current lifter on their TV over there. So no current lifter will start again in our next session. Fred's just not there today for him. Something happened.
I hope he's all right.
Looks like he had a little bit of a, tossed his belt there. He's a little upset. He'll come back for his third.
Let's go, Lewis.
Lewis? Oh, it's like watching Lewis raw deadlift is like watching an equipped person bench their all-time PR. You never know what's going to happen. He's going to do great here today.
That's the thing. You think, wow, okay, 27.5 kilo jump from his first to his second. But with Lewis Knoppers, that's really not that big of a surprise in the deadlift.
Sometimes you want to do a raw bench and equip just to get a bench on the table. Maybe Lewis wanted to do a lighter deadlift just to be able to get a deadlift on there. Safer, maybe, who knows what's going on in Lewis's body. He's got a unique physiology.
And Lewis is a very experienced lifter. He may be really wanting to secure that world team spot for himself to be able to go to South Africa with the master team later this year. And Lewis, to take big jumps in the deadlift is well within his wheelhouse. So he's not unfamiliar with big jumps, and so you got to keep that in mind, right? Again, like we talked about earlier, if you take small jumps in the gym, you don't want to come here and then rely on being able to take big jumps. But for Lewis, taking a big jump in the deadlift is pretty well what he's accustomed to.
I don't think, we haven't seen it today, but there's people that skip their seconds intentionally just to have that longer rest period because they only like to do 1 or 2 big lifts and give it their best shot. Not uncommon. There is Lloyd up here, 235. Does Lloyd have a belt?
Yes.
He does. He finally put something on. He's not entirely unequipped today, but it's very smooth for him. Yeah, just speaking to Lewis, he's added another 22.5, so that's classic Lewis. 200 to 250 over the course of his deadlifts. Darcy Morin's up now with 237.5. Let's see here. Yeah, he's at a 660 total, looking to go to 672.5. Big numbers from everybody out here today. He's confident, eyes closed, big breath. It's always interesting to see the differences in calmness versus, overhyped mode. People have different styles. Some are very quiet, very conservative. They feed off of the energy. What are you, Chantel?
A little bit of a mix in between. So while I am a psychologist, so I don't do, and we don't practice, so there's no designation for sports psychologist where I'm licensed. But one of the things we talk about is sort of that managing that arousal level, because you might be a bit of a hyped lifter, but the question would be, do you have the energy to carry that hype through every single lift today? If you need that level of hype for your opener, I would question whether it's maybe a little bit too heavy. I tend to be a little more of a calm lifter myself, but I do like a little bit of hype coming into my third deadlift.
If you've never done a powerlifting meet before, you got to keep in mind that there's a 2-hour weigh-in, and then you got your half an hour out there for warm-ups, half an hour out there to lift. You got a 90-minute break, probably 60 to 90 minutes between until you're benching again. You have to watch another flight go do their thing. And if you only have 1 flight or 3 flights, the entire schedule is different. You have to eat, you have to drink, you have to time these things. Your flight's only 2 lifters, you're going every 5 minutes. If it's 14 lifters, you're going every 20 minutes. So it's a wild ride out there, and you have to adapt. There's only so much cortisol your body can shoot out before you need a nap. So David Hrinko, he got the national record on his second. So he's gone up 4 kilos to 195. So we'll be cleaning the bar every attempt. Things will slow down a little bit as the spotters prepare an optimal bar presentation for us.
We've got quite the mix of weight classes here, because we are a mix of M2 and M3 and a variety of weight classes in here. I don't know if we have a couple people going head to head, so we'll watch and see if anything volleys, if there's any challenges to placements.
David going for another national record. Let's see how he does.
Come on, Dave. Fire it up there.
Bit of a pause along the way. Will they give him white lights? Let's see. Unfortunately. Oh, no knockout either. There you go.
I don't think he quite got his shoulders in line with his hips. His hips looked like they weren't quite as locked. Another time he might have sold it a little bit, but his lockout is really defined and really pronounced. And so if it's not in that position, he's generally not going to get the call.
David is very thin from the side view, but very wide from the front. His shoulders are very wide considering his frame, and he's got that sumo. He's a very telling body, especially if he's got the shiny MPA shirt on. It's some people wear all black just to be able to fade in, but David is a louder lifter than that. 197.5 kilos for Brian Tuffold here.
Let's go, Brian. Keep going.
And he looks at the thing, looks at the TV screen, 3 white lights. Again, thank you to our sponsors, SBD, Inner Strength, Olympia, and the City of Moose Jaw. SBD is our presenting sponsor of the day. Local support here in Moose Jaw. SBD's branding strength, belief, and determination for all their athletes and everybody in and out of the gym. They presented our volunteers with socks and shirts, all matching for a nice red and black aesthetic. Everything's consistent here today. Very pretty. You can see sort of a corner angle of the venue here. It's very, very aesthetically pleasing. Inner Strength products across the parking lot. Everything local in Moose Jaw. That is a good grind.
That was a great fight from James.
Perfect third attempt for James. 3 white lights. He nailed it. 210 for Bryce. Bryce is in second.
Great work, Jim.
His counterpart was Brian Tuffeld. Oh wait, I take that back. M2 is Court. So we have 47 versus 540. Probably not there to win, so he's going for his own personal best.
One of the things to keep in mind, I know that we're saying, there's some spots where you might be vying for a placement, first versus second. And, sometimes it can take a bit of a bad rap. It's like, oh yeah, you got a gold medal in a class of 1. But people forget, you still have to show up and make lifts. You can't just show up and go rogue and do whatever you want. You still have to put a total up there. If you total 0, you don't get a medal. And so, even if you're all by yourself, you still have to show up and do the work.
I've seen it a lot of times, especially local meets. You get some international superstar shows up for your provincials. They're 60 GL points better than you. But the person in second has a great day. Person in first bombs. All of a sudden, you're a provincial champion. It happens at all levels. Regional, national, international, it could be anything. There's all these varieties of factors. You have the world ranking #1 that misses weight. All of a sudden, it's a totally different strategy from your coach's perspective. You're not fighting for second, you're fighting for first. I've seen people, Canadian athletes ranked 8th to go and win a world championships. You never know what happens until the dust is settled on deadlifts. Like, meet doesn't actually begin until deadlifts. You're not actually placing until you get your deadlift. So, fortunately speaking, no bombs in this entire session on either platform today.
That is a fantastic showing from all the lifters this morning.
So, Mark, keep it going. Keep it going.
Nice and slow from Mark all the way to lockout.
Perfect. Beautiful attempt selection from Mark. 8 for 9 day for Mark.
It's a 5 kilo PR for him.
And he missed his first bench on a technicality, but upped the weight, so, that's almost a 9 for 9 day for Mark. It's 8 with an asterisk. Dean Smith going for 9 for 9 himself. He's at 555, going for 562.5. Again, Dean ate his way into the 93 category for whatever reason he had. He's in first place, so it's probably a good call. Earning that world spot potentially based on what happens at the other regionals. And he
bar is loaded for Dean Smith with 220 kilograms, 400
is on the way out.
Pounds. Let's fire it up, Dean. Dean looking strong as I see the socks.
Putting that bar where he wants it. A lot of times we try to put the bar in the same places on the platform, try and center it, but athletes can move it wherever they want. They really can. A lot of people need it to be completely parallel with the rest of the platform. Other people don't care. Sometimes it's just good for a visual. Sometimes it serves some kind of, need within their mental capacity. Dean with a perfect pull. Let's see, do they give it to him for lockout? It's 3 white lights.
Good lift.
Perfect weight selection from coach. All right, we got 227.5 back to back here for Court and Fred. Court has the lower lot number. Don't see any coaches standing at the table, so there won't be any changes at this point.
And Court is sitting in first in his age and weight category already, so he's already got first locked up. So just went up a little chip here, 2.5. So it might just be a matter of finishing his day.
Yeah, if we look at a curve, generally the middle weights like the 83s, the 93s for the men, the 63s, 69s, 76s for the females. Generally the highest populated classes. Females spread's actually a little bit wider throughout. But when you get into the different age categories, M2, M3, M4, the older they get, generally the less competition there is. Same with the youth. Youth's a new thing, but there's only going to be a handful of them this week. So there might be less competition in the various masters categories than you see in the juniors and sub-juniors and opens, but still competitive nonetheless against themselves and against...
I'll be honest, as an old person myself, I think it's a win showing up.
Exactly. The goal is to be an M4. That's the motto. 3 white lights for Court Sando there, finishing his day strong. Fred Smith, he had a very tough second. Not sure what happened there. He was not happy with himself and barely budged from the floor. Let's see if he can come back and hit it this time. He looks determined.
You know, it could be just if it rolls out in front a little bit. You just, and you know, it might just be a matter of you get yourself out of position and you're like, it's not worth the grind when it's near max effort. If it's not perfect, especially if you've maybe had a pre-existing injury.
He is emotionally charged. Let's see if he's aroused. Oh no, not there today. He's all right.
But he's got a total, right?
That's
Again,
right.
At the end of the day, what's the goal?
Get a total.
He's got a silver medal in the Master 2 105s.
And you know, he went around and he shook all the referees' hands and thanked them. Veteran maneuver. It takes a lot to have that mindfulness too, to be able to go shake referees' hands when you're at the end of your 9 for 9 day, but it's always appreciated when they do so.
I'm a big fan of a fist bump when I'm in the chair.
It's less intimate. It's less bloody.
Less chalk.
Less chalk.
My ref clothes get chalky.
Mm-hmm.
They get chalky just sitting there.
2:45 for Darcy. 4 more attempts left in this session. Our next session, I'll look it up while you describe this lifter.
All right, so like I said, Darcy's been here several days. He's been volunteering. He is going to try and put 245 on his total.
Our next session weigh-ins are 11:30, so they are halfway over. Our next session begins at 1:30 p.m.
Looked tough, but looked like he stood up with it. Let's see what the referees say. They did give him the lift. One card for not being fully locked out. I could see that.
He wasn't confident, but it was confident enough.
All right, Lewis Knoppers, famous in Canadian powerlifting for his deadlift.
Let's see, 250, started at 200, 27, 22. His family's coming, approaching the front. Get a video from the crowd. Let's see how he does. Very thorough clean by Jeff Butt.
One of Lewis's kids is in the back, I think, coaching him. His other child is out here getting his video. There's this kid with the shades in behind him there. I hope they're lifting tomorrow. They are great lifters. See them in Alberta lifting in the youth division.
Lewis almost right at the end of the platform there. Very close.
Lewis knows what he likes.
Absolutely.
And he is a fantastic deadlift.
Come on, Lewis.
Nope.
Not there today.
I do think I was talking to Lewis in the last, I would say, couple of years, and I think he was kind of fighting something. But hopefully it's nothing. Maybe, maybe just feel something a little bit and you go, nope, I'm going to live to lift another day here.
There you go. So Lloyd went up 35 on his second. He's going up another, 25 on his third here. So these are big jumps.
Shout out to our sponsors, SBD, Olympia, and Dad.
No, wait, he went up 15 and then 25. Sorry, that's a small jump, big jump. You don't see that all the time.
No, it's a little more common to see a bigger jump from your first to your second, then your second to your third, but maybe that second moved way faster than he expected.
And he's got his good luck charm
Yeah.
or whatever that is out there.
Maybe that's his good luck sock that's being dangled. I don't know. Whatever it is, if it works, it works.
Coaches within the coaching box, all is allowed.
Wow, that moved real well for such a big jump.
And it's 3 white lights.
He said he got into powerlifting because his bench press was good, but he's pretty well-rounded.
Yeah, he is. Sometimes those big biceps are trouble in the deadlift, but they do not affect him. 277.5 for Tim to close the day out. Lloyd went 9 for 9. Congratulations, Lloyd. And Tim is our last lifter of the session. Our next session, again, begins at 1:30 p.m. We want to thank our sponsors, SBD, Inner Strength Products, In-Depth, Olympia In-Depth Performance out of Weyburn, Saskatchewan, in the city of Moose Jaw. Pete Spence for coming all the way from overseas.
Maine. Pete says he's in Maine these days.
He's mainly in Maine.
Mainly in Maine.
Running our live stream, providing us with Sheffield-like quality on the live stream. Good guy, greater producer, decent editor. Tim, 277.5. It's just not there for him today. And we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again at 1:30. Thank you, Chantel Such.
It was a fun morning.
Very
the lifting
fun.
was fantastic.